Namaste to all. It's a great pleasure. Uh, I welcome you all. Namaste to all. Actually a great pleasure today we are having this day 5 of the ICI Global Week 2025. And I'm really deeply honored that uh, I'm sharing this webinar along with our very esteemed past president, CA Ramaswamiji, whose guidance and leadership has continued to inspire our profession. Uh, so really thank you, Ramaswamy sir, past president sir, for being here and sharing your views on this very important topic which is being discussed in this first half, that is empowering business in developed Canada. Also, I welcome Ritesh Desai from who's the ICI Toronto chapter chairperson, and moderating these two persons would be our moderator from Kerala, Surajji. So welcome all the three. And in fact, if I talk about this ICI Global Week 2025, the fifth day we are having it, we are having a week whole, 7 days. Which is a unique initiative that over the past few days has taken us across Asia, Africa, America, and Europe, unfolding opportunities, challenges, and possibilities that truly define our interconnected world today. As we have gathered under the theme Discovering Canada's Multifaceted Excellence, we continue our journey of dialogue and discovery in line with the broader themes of this week, that is, navigating global challenge opportunities. This theme, I believe, is not just a guiding framework, but also a professional responsibility and opportunity. As chartered accountants, we are at the crossroads of change where financial expertise meets technology, where domestic markets connect with global economies, and where governance, trust, and sustainability are at the core of the business. To navigate opportunities means anticipating change, building adaptability, and contributing to global growth stories and competence and integrity. Canada, as we are talking, having a discussion on this Canada today, Canada represents one such inspiring growth story with its robust economy, transparent regulatory systems, inclusive business environment, and a thriving multicultural society. Canada has emerged as a land of stability and innovation. Its focus on technology, sustainability, and trade diversity makes it an attractive destination for businesses worldwide. For Indian enterprises and professionals, Canada is not merely a developed market, it is a partner economy offering immense scope, investment, collaboration, and global capacity centers. In fact, if I talk about in the northern India, in the area of Punjab, I hope at least from each Doaba district, at least one person from the family is there in the Canada, and they say that Canada actually is a second Punjab out there. Ritesh Desai ji can vouch for that. I suppose Punjabi is one of the another official language in Canada.
I second that, Pramodji.
Great. As we delve into today's session on empowering business in developed Canada, we must recognize the critical role our profession plays. Chartered accountants are not only accountants in the traditional sense, we are advisors, strategists, and enablers of cross-border partnerships, be it facilitating in Indo-Canadian trade, advising on tax and compliance frameworks, or guiding enterprises on sustainable and ethical growth. Our contribution has the power to shape and strengthen this bilateral engagement. ICI, through its growing network of overseas chapters and MOUs with global institutions, has already laid the foundation of Indian chartered accountants to integrate seamlessly into the global arena. Today's discussions will further highlight how we can deepen this integration in the Canadian context, empowering businesses and professionals alike. As we move forward, let us remind ourselves that navigating global opportunities is not about seeking isolated gains. It is about creating lasting value, building global partnerships, and ensuring that our profession continues to stand for trust and excellence through borders. With that thought, I once again welcome you all and look forward to this insightful deliberations and that lie ahead. And of course, we're starting with our past presidents, very warmth and with the heart, his discussions about this topic. So thank you, everyone. I request G. Ramaswamy ji or Suraj ji, you will take ahead, or Ramaswamy ji, sir.
Yes, sir, I will take ahead and I will.
And then you'll invite President, sir.
Yes,
Great.
yes.
Thank you, everyone, sir. Have a great learning day. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, sir. Respected dignitaries, esteemed members of ICAI, fellow chartered accountants, and friends, good evening to all of you. It gives me immense pride and privilege to stand before you today on this occasion, the initiation of Global UDAN by the Institute of Chartered Accountants of India. At the very outset, I extend a warm welcome to our distinguished guests, senior leaders of ICAI, my professional colleagues, and all participants who have gathered here to witness the beginning of a new chapter in the journey of our profession. Global UDAN is not just a program, it is a vision to empower Indian chartered accountants to scale beyond borders, to create global footprints, and to transform themselves into true ambassadors of financial excellence. In today's interconnected world, opportunities are no longer confined within geographical boundaries. Indian CAs are increasingly being recognized as trusted advisors and strategic partners across industries worldwide. This initiative by ICAI opens the door for members to explore international markets, cross border business opportunities, and collaborations, and to position themselves as global leaders in assurance, taxation, consulting, and financial advisory. I once again extend my heartfelt welcome and gratitude to all dignitaries, speakers, and participants. May this initiative truly become a launch pad for global inspirations and professional success.
I request
It is with,
our past president. You're continuing, Suraj ji?
I'll just call Ramaswamy sir.
Yeah, please. Thank you.
It is the immense pride and honor that we welcome today CA G. Ramaswamy, FCA, FCS, a distinguished leader of our profession, hailing from Coimbatore, Tamil Nadu. C.A. Ramaswamy served as the president of the Institute of Chartered Accountants of India during 2011-12, after elected as vice president in 2010-11. His leadership journey with ICI spans across three consecutive terms as a council member from 2004 to 2013, during which he played a vital role in strengthening the profession and its global standing. So, on behalf of ICI, and everyone present here, we extend our heartfelt welcome to CAG Ramaswamy, and I welcome him to the dais. Sir.
Thank you, friends. My good friend and the Central Council member, the Chairman Expert Advisory Committee, Mr. Pramod Ji, and the Chairman of the Toronto chapter, Mr. Ritesh Desai, Mr. Suraj, my neighbor from my country, and other beloved friends. It's a great opportunity as given to me to participate in this wonderful meeting organized by our ICA. ICA Global Week. Today, we are navigating the global opportunities specifically relating to Canada. When a call I received from Mr. Convener of this program, Mr. Abhay, is my very close friend of mine. When he was the chairman of the Bhopal branch, I visited there. We interacted many times. Then I found he is a good leader. A great leadership qualities are with him. Suddenly he called me, sir, you have to come and join this program. So there is no hesitation for me to say no, then I want to join. Say yes, and I joined. It's a wonderful opportunity, I can tell you. Then I have seen that my memory has gone back to my visit to Toronto and Vancouver and other places, including the CPA office, along with Mr. Amarjit Chopra. When he was the president, I was the vice president of the Institute of Chartered Accountants of India. We have traveled 2-3 places. We have participated the family function organized by the Toronto chapter, and we all participated along with the other members and thoroughly enjoyed their hospitality, their vision, their discussions have taken place. And we move towards that for globalization is a very important, especially what Mr. Pramodji has mentioned about this Canada and India's connection, especially from Punjab and this Canada. Many people have mentioned about that. Even now, we are always having, when you land there, you are always having the feeling of you are in India. To that extent, we have a great relationship. And after that, I asked them, what is the keynote address I had to give? Because I have an experience of this globalization with many of our friends, especially from our ICA. Recently, they have taken a lot of initiatives. My good friend and the chairman, the president of the Institute of Chartered Accountants of India, Mr. C.A. Saranjot Singh Nandaji, we together joined in 2004 in the council of the Institute of Chartered Accountants of India as the council members. We have started working together. When I'm laying down from the office as the president of the Institute of Chartered Accountants of India on 11th February 2012, we have released one vision document, Vision 2030. Still, it is there in our official website of ICA. What is the vision for the ICA? Almost now, maybe about 13 years are over. Now, another vision 2047 and 2049 is all coming up. Before that, last week we had debated and discussed in our strategy committee how best we can make it a globalization of our profession towards the creating a greater opportunity for chartered accountants. With this, I have a very small presentation. I would like to present it so that we can have an idea about what I have learned from my own experience. What is my view on these things of the globalization? Maybe I can also get the feedback from all of you, which I can pass on to the leadership along with all the future leaders so that they can take it up further stage to implement the vision. I'll just take it. I hope everyone is able to see that. Hello?
We are able to hear you, sir.
Okay. What about this one? My presentation?
No, it's not coming, sir.
I will just tell you how to do that. I'll just see that. I will share it. I have to share my. We're able to see now?
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, that's the one. See, I started with the wording started from the power of connection, India-Canada professional partnership. A journey through globalization, professional excellence, and shared democratic values. Then, what is that? Why this conference? There may be a webinar organized by the convener. So I thought I can just put a word on that. A new era of professional unity. Professionals everywhere in the globalization, every body is having their own professionals. The accounting profession is having about a large number of professionals all over the globe. Compared to the medical profession, we are less, but we are having a lot of professional bodies. Then IFAC is working towards the unity of the professional bodies. Globalization, no longer merely a concept. It has become the very fabric connecting our profession, economies, and collective futures. Like the great rivers that connect distant lands and nourish diverse ecosystem, our shared commitment as chartered accountants flows across borders, building bridges of trust, innovation, and excellence. Today marks an important milestone as we explore our India-Canada, two vibrant democracies separated by geography, yet united by values, are jointly crafting a future of multifaceted professional excellence and economic prosperity. And I want to see that why this committee leadership. I must say that CA Abhay Chajak, the convener of the Committee on Development of International Trade, Services, WTO, whose effective stewardship made this gathering possible. I must compliment him for his effective leadership for this Global Week of Globalization of Accounting Profession. My respected President, ICACA Nandaji, Vice President Mr. C.A. Prasanna Kumar, respected council members Pramod Jain and Ravi Patwa is going to join, Deputy Convener C.A. Dr. Sanjeev Agarwal and friends. And extra warm welcome to C.A. Ritesh Desai, Chairperson of the Toronto chapter, C.A. Sonal Goyal, Chairperson, and C.A. Sanjita Mehta, Secretary of the ICA British Columbia chapter, distinguished speakers Shailesh Kaushik, Manish Agarwal, moderator C.A. Suraj, and all global participants joining us across the country, across the continents today. What is the globalizations? You read a book written by Thomas Frieden. The world is flat. Globalization means the world is interconnected, and what happens to one place can affect every other. It's a true value, true word has been expressed by him. Today we have seen that geopolitical changes in the commerce and trade and other activities. You must have seen that there are wars somewhere. It has an impact on the economy and the commerce of global entities, global continents. There may be a tariff regime. There may be many things are happening. So the globalization is created. One place, if it is selected, automatically others are going to be affected. But if you take a positive, one place is bringing a global prosperity, everyone will get the prosperity. Living in this multipolar, technology-accelerated world calls us to embrace collaboration and inclusive growth with renewed determinations. That's very important. We inhabit an era where innovation transcends borders, where customers' obsession fuels progress everywhere, where our professional networks span time, zones, and cultures. India's emergence as a beacon of innovation, determination, and technological excellence testifies harnessing globalization constructively. As we celebrate Canada's multi-faceted achievements, let us acknowledge the unity, vision, and synergy that strengthen not merely nations, but our entire profession across the diverse culture and economic system. Indian vibrant presence in Canada is a very important, very rightly as mentioned by while delivering the inaugural address, Mr. C.A. Pramod Jain has mentioned about the culture between India, especially with Punjab and Canada, is commendable. India is consistently contributing to Canada's economic resilience through diverse and dynamic engagement. Nearly 2 million Canadians of Indian origin play a vital role in key sectors, fueling job creations, generating substantial tax revenues, enriching Canada's multicultural workforce with exceptional talent and entrepreneurial spirit. Indian innovation powering Canadian progress. You must see that the Indian techies, Indian multinational corporations are deriving technological transformation across Canada. Tech Mahindra, Wipro, Tata Consultancy, Infosys, they are giving a lot of inputs to the Canadian country, Canadian citizens by way of communicating with the technological processes. Because of this technological processes, they are able to get the entire hand-holding exercise in the country. There is taking a bilateral trade. There is in 2024, India ranks the Canada's 7th largest goods and services trading partner. Nearly $30.9 billion transactions have happened. Because of the expected through the forthcoming comprehensive economic partnership agreement between India and Canada, we are expecting a further increase of rupees $6.5 billion. In 2035, substantial GDP gain projected for India through the dependent cooperations. You see that there will be a lot of contribution from our India and Indian citizens who are all living in this Canada by way of economic cooperations. Friends, investment strength ties also. Canadian investments are coming to India. There are a huge amount of an investment coming from Canada in the manufacturing, infrastructure, and technology sector, creating an employment, fostering innovations. Strategic partnership, generating value for both economies through knowledge sharing and capital flows. Similarly, reaching significant milestone in technology, pharmaceutical, real estate, creating thousands of quality jobs. Despite occasional challenges inherent in any dynamic bilateral relationship in between India and Canada, pragmatic partnership remains firmly focused on shared economic priorities, democratic values, and mutual prosperity. Friends, now we go to the professional excellence, the ICA and CPA Canada Memorandum of Understanding. It's a very important memorandum of understanding between ICA and CPA Canada, wherein we are all getting a mutual benefit out of that memorandum. The ICA and CPA Canada Memorandum of Understanding represent a landmark achievement in professional cooperation, facilitating mutual recognition of the qualification and enhancing the mobility of chartered accountants between our nations. So it's a very important compliances along with our Indian national education policy. The government is supporting us to move forward to the globalization of our profession also. Friends, today I have seen that a very interesting subject which we are going to hear. That's called forensic accounting and investigation standards. This is the first standards. This is prepared by our ICA, a comprehensive standard. Now that everybody, those who are going for a forensic audit, they have to follow the forensic accounting and investigation standards and their certificate examinations from our institute. They have to have qualified, then only they are eligible for that. ICA's mandatory forensic accounting and investigation standard comprehensively revised in 2025. Now we have a revised forensic accounting and investigation standards. What is that? The rigorous protocols in this? Setting comprehensive protocols for fraud, risk management, forensic engagement, evidence handling, and advanced data analytics. Very interestingly, the earning international acclaim for elevating professional rigor, integrity, technical excellence across the jurisdiction. Now, across the jurisdiction, every professional body is looking forward to support from the Institute of Chartered Accountants of India relating to the forensic accounting and investigation standards. This robust framework embodies ICA's leadership in advancing trusted, ethical, technologically adept financial ecosystem that serves stakeholders worldwide with unwavering dedication and truth and the transparency. That's very important one which they have taken into considerations. Friends, what is the core competencies of the forensic accounting and investigation standards? Though you are going to get the full-fledged debate and discussions, I just touch upon a few points relating to fraud risk management. It's very important. Systematic identification, assessment, and mitigation of fraud vulnerabilities across the organizations of all size and sectors. Similarly, forensic engagements, structural methodologies for conducting investigations with legal defensibility and evidentiary standards. That's very important for engaging of this profession relating to the forensic engagements. You need to have a very strong methodology, very strong investigation capabilities, legal support wherever you are going to fight in the court. There should be a support. This standards is providing you all type of a supports. Evidence handling, it's a very important for it. The rigorous protocols ensuring chain of custody, data integrity, admissibility in legal proceedings. See, any evidences you collected, it can be trust, it has to be tested by the court of law. So this, if you apply this forensic accounting and investigation standards of ICA, you have a handhold exercise through these standards, you can get it. The data analyticals, advanced technological capabilities, leveraging AI, machine learning, big data for fraud detection and prevention. That's very important. Detection and prevention also the standard is guiding you. Coming to the cross-border expedition digital age, meeting global challenges. As a financial fraud increasingly manifests cross-border complexities amplified by digital transformation, Indian chartered accountants trained rigorously under the forensic accounting and investigation standard provide a critical expertise, actively sought by the Canadian firms navigating sophisticated regulatory challenges. So this convergence of digitalization, cryptocurrency fraud, cyber threats, complex international transactions demands professionals equipped with both technical mastery and ethical foundation. Previously, the capabilities of the forensic accounting and investigation are cultivated systematically. So it has a tremendous opportunity for those who are working on this forensic investigation. A fraud landscape can be regularly, you can watch by using your capabilities of understanding this FAIS, and you can do that regulatory requirements and give a robust financial controls and an increased interconnected global economy. So this is very important area which ICA is providing a support, wherein the Indian chartered accountants can get the benefit out of it. In fact, there will be an opportunity for the Canadian CPAs also to know the standard. They can also get trained from the ICAI. What are the expanding the horizons? Career opportunities for Indian chartered accountants in Canada? Of course, we are all going to do everything, but I will just touch upon only the forensic accounting. The leading complex fraud investigation, litigation support engagements for major Canadian corporations and government entities. It's very important. And risk consulting, designing enterprise risk framework and internal control system of our financial institutions, multinational enterprises. That's all very important for us. Now that Canada is a booming economy, there will be and always there will be a risk will be involved for the enterprises. You can give a risk consultant. Digital transformation world over is happening, globally happening, spearheading the technological innovation in the financial reporting, automation, data-driven decision-making system. That's very important. Data-driven decision-making system. It's also a very core area for us to understand how the frauds are happening. The credentials of this fraud, the forensic accounting and the investigation standards of ICA and information system audit of ICA deliver a distinctive competitive advantages in sectors prioritizing financial controls, technological innovations, and regulatory compliances, enabling exceptionally rewarding career trajectories for qualified Indian professionals. It's a wonderful opportunity for the qualified Indian chartered accountants, especially in the case of forensic accounting, fraud deductions, risk consultation areas. Friends, ICA is the global leadership, emerging fields identification, research and education, strategic partnership with many countries with globally they want to engage. All these things are now this ICA's global vision. ICA's global engagements continue to expand exponentially through strategic partnership, cutting-edge research initiative, educational programs. Our members are gaining prominence in emerging fields such as environmental, social, and governance, ESG reporting, anti-fraud compliance framework, digital governance protocol. These achievements are powered by the robust foundation established through the forensic accounting and investigation standards and align perfectly with the ICA's overreaching vision to empower professionals who uphold economic integrity, organizational transparency, and social trust across all jurisdictions globally. Jeff Bezos, the founder of the Amazon, has very rightly has mentioned that in today's globalized economy, innovation and customer obsession transcend borders and fuels progress everywhere. We can't forget on this. Now that's everything, the business completely changed. The concept of innovation is every day is changing. Customer relationships are completely changing. So naturally, we, the professionals, having an experience of this last 75 years of the entire concept of our business activities, our profession, and now we must understand how this profession is moving towards the digitalization, adopting the technology, bringing more global opportunity for the chartered accountants. Chartered accountants are served as a trusted architects who ensure governance, transparency, sustainable development across international borders. Our profession carries a sacred responsibility of maintaining financial integrity, protocol, protecting stakeholders' interests, and enabling the informed decisions. That's very important. Informed decision making that shapes of economic futures. In an era of characterized by rapid technological changes, complex regulatory environment, and interconnected markets, the role of chartered accountants has never been more critical or more globally relevant to the organization and social success. The democratic governance, the shared commitment to the transparent, accountable institutions, embracing technology, advancement, and creative problem solving, pursuing sustainable prosperity and inclusive development, upholding the highest standards of competence and ethics, celebrating the diversity as a strength and opportunity. Building partnership that transcend geographically boundaries. Though separated by the vast geographical distance, India and Canada remain profoundly united by these fundamental values, creating an unshakable foundation for enduring professionals and economic partnership. Building prosperous and inclusive future growth. That's very important for us. As we embrace the close globalization with renewed optimism, unwavering determination, let us draw inspiration from visionary leaders who understand that interconnections and innovation represent not threats, but extraordinary opportunities for collective advancement. The partnership we forge today between India and Canada will shape a more prosperous, equitable, sustainable global future for generations to come. One grounded in mutual respect, shared expertise, collaborative problem solving. Together as members of proud, globally respected profession, we possess both capabilities and responsibilities to harness these connections for the greater good, ensuring that economic growth benefits all stakeholders, that technological progress serves humanity, and that professional excellence remains synonymous with the unwavering integrity with us. My profound gratitude extends to the organizers who have made this significant gathering possible, to my esteemed colleagues who have graced us with their presence and wisdom, to all the participants joining us from across the globe, your engagement, insights, and commitment to the professional excellence inspire us all. As we proceed with today's program, I eagerly anticipate impactful discussions, knowledge sharing, fruitful collaboration that will emerge from our collective expertise, shared vision. May our conversations today plant seeds that blossom into transformative partnership, innovative solutions, and lasting professional relationships that transcend the borders and enrich both our nations. Thank you for your attention, your dedication to our profession, and your commitment to building a bridge of excellence across the world. Friends, before concluding, I will borrow the wisdom of the Swami Vivekananda and to share with all of you. Arise, awake, stop not till the goal is reached. Thank you, one and all. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. I want to extend our sincere gratitude for your participation as a speaker. Thank you again for dedicating your time and valuable knowledge to our event. We hope to have the pleasure of collaborating with you again in the future.
Thank you.
Moving forward, as we have a ninth session on empowering business in developed Canada, we are having our esteemed guest, Mr. Ritesh Desai. It is my absolute pleasure to extend a very warm welcome to Mr. Ritesh Desai, our distinguished guest this evening. Mr. Ritesh is currently serving as the Chief Internal Auditor of Shinhan Bank, Canada, where he leads the internal audit department with distinction. He brings with him nearly 2 decades of rich experience in internal audit across financial institutions in both Canada and India. His expertise spans critical areas such as financial crime compliance, risk management, governance, data analytics, and climate risk. Before joining Shinhan Bank Canada in June 2023, Ritesh held the position of Senior Audit Manager in the Corporate Audit Division at BMO Financial Group, specializing in anti-money laundering and anti-terrorist financing. What makes Ritesh's journey even more inspiring is his commitment to the profession and to people. Beyond his professional achievements, he is passionately engaged in mentoring new immigrants, chartered accountants from India. Ritesh academic and professional credentials speaks volumes. He is a certified anti-money laundering specialist, a CPA from Colorado State, US, and a chartered accountant from India. With such a remarkable professional track record, combined with his dedication to community service and leadership within ICI, we are truly honored to have him with us today. As his leadership is well recognized, he has served as Vice Chairman and Secretary of ICI Toronto chapter, and today he continues to contribute as a chair as its chair. So, on behalf of everyone present here, I extend a heartfelt welcome to Mr. Ritesh Desai. We look forward to hearing from him and to being inspired by his journey and insights. Sir, you may continue. And sir, for the question and answer, you want the Q&A at the end of the session, or you will have it in between?
I would say let's go with Q&A only directly. We'll have right in the during the session.
Session only. Okay, so you can start your session. Meanwhile, I will collect the Q&A from the participants, and I will let you know in between.
Okay. Well, thank you, Surajji. Appreciate it. At the outset, I would say namaste and a very warm good evening to everybody who's joining from India. Good afternoon, good morning to whoever is joining from Middle East or Canada. It's an honor on behalf of ICI Toronto chapter to stand here and represent our Toronto chapter and our profession in front of you. It's truly an honor. Ram sir, your opening spiel was absolutely terrific. You covered such vital topics that impact our ICA profession, as well as how it has impacts in Canada and where chartered accountants can contribute. I would say those were kind of the trailers or teasers of my spiel anyways. So thank you for touching on those such important topics. ICAI, a very heartfelt thank you for launching this session, the Global Week, and organizing such events. It's truly amazing to see how ICAI keeps on raising the bar and keeps organizing such events so to increase the brand value of CA. So with that, I would just like to thank you and start today's session. So as our past President Honorable Ram Sir already mentioned about a brief about Canadian economy, it is truly a very diverse economy and a developed economy. Being part of the G7, the OECD, Canadian economy is very diversified and globally connected one. Obviously, geography plays a very important role. Being next to the neighbor of United States, the world's #1 economy, it has a significant impact on whatever happens in United States. So it's directly connected. So Canada propels and succeeds, excels itself in financial services, technology, clean energy, trade, and sustainability. The opportunities for professionals, particularly in those areas, and including chartered accountants, if we can diversify and if I can build our skill sets in those areas, are truly immense. Indian CAs are uniquely positioned to add value, not in the traditional accounting and auditing and finance field. Those are given. I would say those are table stakes at this stage. But also in emerging areas like some of the topics that Ram sir already covered upon, forensics, fraud risk management, data analytics, ESG reporting, climate risk, trade advisory, and digital transactions. trade, I would just take a quick 10 seconds to quickly talk about trade. Ramsar presented some of the statistics about $30 billion trade between India and Canada. It is one of the areas where I would say it's not actively being looked at by chartered accountants. Many people are still focused on the traditional finance, tax, advisory, those kind of things, which is nothing wrong in that. But trade is such a significant part. Yes, in the past year or so, there was some noise. That's what we, in the business or the professional community, we call it. There was some noise between the political landscapes. I won't said that, but the trade aspect has continued to grow, and there are significant pension funds or real estate investment trust funds in Canada which have significant presence and investments in India. So, like Brookfield, to name a few, Brookfield is there, which has significant investments in Bombay and other cities in across India. So that's a very lucrative area. Secondly, overall trade, like Canada has a lot of critical minerals and materials. So, and they are looking for expanding the market, maybe beyond the United States. They're looking to EU, Asia Pacific, and India is a critical market for them. So that is another area where I would highly emphasize to our professional brothers and sisters to please have a look where you can contribute through maybe your expertise in tax treaties, how to structure the trade, how to structure the corporate organizations. So as well as legal advisory services. So please bear in mind that's an important area. Another area of key focus is digital transformation. Canada is Canada being part of the developed world. A lot of transactions are digitized. There is a big push from the government also to get into the blockchain market, cryptocurrency, the stable coins. With the regulations coming out from the United States, they have a direct impact on the Canadian market as well. We in fact have mutual funds which are backed by cryptocurrency. So that's another area where I would highly request you all to please have a look and consider as an area. So that's I would say the another push I keep hearing from a lot of, like, our president, Mr. Charanjit Singh Nanda, was here just last month, and he really shed some light on GCC centers, global capability centers in India, and how India can be a hub for multiple aspects. It's no longer just the IT hub or the back office processing. That's where the brain can really function, brain of the organization can really function. So you have multiple areas of risk management, your financial crime, your internal controls, your finance function, your end-to-end governance structures can be hosted in India. So I highly, and those are very critical aspects and much valued in the Canadian regulatory landscape. How do you manage those? Where are they positioned? How effective are they? And it's not just a paper exercise. So if we can develop our skill sets and look at those areas, I I would say that's a very growing area, and there is tremendous opportunities for there. I'll take a quick pause and ask Suraj if there are any questions at this stage, or yeah, how do you want me to proceed? Suraj? Suraj, I think you're on mute. Just checking if there are any questions. Maybe I'll continue. In addition to what I just mentioned, there are additional areas like the newer growth areas where you call it finance, fintech, and AI, or you call it technology-based finance. There's a lot of emphasis on technology-related systems and how quickly you can give your insights, your strategic insights to the CEO, the CFOs of the world. that's one area where you can increase your presence or increase your value addition. One aspect I would really emphasize, it's one thing to produce the output or produce the data and just to generate the numbers and all. What today's organizations are really looking for as chartered accountants, as professionals, is what are the insights? What do you understand from the data? And how do you guide the organization forward? How do you interpret the data? The information is available, but is there any way you can interpret the data, marry it with what's happening in the environment, global environment, may the United States or EU, and what's the potential impact and how does it impact my organization and what are the next steps that you can take? So that's really critical, and that's very if we can harness those skills, if we can think through that. So that's another area. Data governance, regulator, OSFI, Office of the Superintendent of Financial Institutions, which is the primary and prudential federal banking regulator, banking and insurance sector regulator in Canada. They are very big on data governance. How reliable is the data? How do you know that the data that you're generating is complete, accurate, and are you able to produce timely basis? And in the overall, how do you demonstrate your operational resiliency? You will keep hearing that term quite often, operational resiliency. I would say that's the flavor of the season, I would rather say. Because some of the bank failures, some of the organizational failures that we've seen with the Silicon Valley Bank a couple of years ago in the US, or the Wirecard fraud, one of the key things that regulators realized, there was some information available, but no one was looking, or if it was looked, they were not really able to produce it on a complete basis and a timely basis to act for management. So how are you able to make sure that you have the right set of information to monitor your risk on a timely basis? Another area would be green financing, which is your climate accounting, carbon accounting. Canadian standards, although they are developing, they're already setting up benchmarks. EU is the leader currently globally in terms of sustainability standards. Canada is catching up, and they already have a regulatory guidance. Canada has the SASB, the Sustainability Accounting Board, plus the banking regulator has already given timelines. It's the end of this year, and for larger institutions, and end of next year for small and medium-sized institutions, to come up with multiple disclosure requirements, your scope 1, scope 2, scope 3 requirements. That's a humongous task. And a lot of institutions are struggling. There are challenges in data because some of the institutions are over 100 years, and to get that data from a $500 billion institution, to get your data about your loans, your customer data, and to populate in the disclosure requirements, it's a big challenge. So how, as your chartered accountants, are you able to really grasp the regulatory requirements around green financing, carbon accounting, and to produce that data that regulators require? I would say if you can demonstrate and your skill sets, through your added educational qualifications, with additional courses, there are multiple courses available. That's certainly one growth area I would say to target upon. Obviously, then there is, when we talked about, I briefly touch upon the risk, is enterprise risk and cybersecurity governance. Being in digitization, everybody is moving on to technology. Digitization is so big. So do the threats are keep rising. Your cybersecurity, how solid, how strong is your cyber environment, your technology environment, and how protected are you from all the threats, the malwares, the vulnerabilities? How do you demonstrate the operational resilience, your business continuity plan resilience to, even if there's an attack, how can you prevent it? Or if there's an attack, how can you rise up to the challenge and quickly recover and function as business as usual? There is heavy emphasis on that cybersecurity governance. So I would say, friends, if you are interested in diversifying from your standard auditing and technology, auditing and accounting field, look at technology, cybersecurity governance. There is big scope in that area as well. I see Suraj back, so maybe I'll take a quick pause now. Suraj, if there are any questions, I can take it now.
Yeah. Yes, sir. Sir, what role do chartered accountants from India play in empowering businesses in Canada? Like if structuring companies or some tax planning or risk management.
Yeah, so thank you, Suraj, for that question. So in terms of empowering businesses in Canada, see, the areas that I just talked about, the enterprises, setting up all regulations. Canada is a very heavily regulated economy. We have to keep that at the forefront, be it the banking and financial sector, the cost of compliance, and I would say the cost of non-compliance is significant. If you're caught on the wrong side, there are tremendous implications in terms of ability to do business or reputational risk. So there's always a need of professionals who are able to understand the risk environment, be it the regulatory environment, the technology based, or climate risk, ability to understand the data from a financial data perspective. People who can understand that and then support management, senior management, your CEOs and the CFOs of the world. That's how you empower them to lead their organizations forward. And it's a slightly different mindset, I would say, and maybe I learned it over the years in living in this country. You always put your organization ahead of you. Think about what's needed for my organization, what will take my organization forward, what's the need. You work on those goals, and if the organization moves forward, you automatically grow. Instead of, okay, what do I need? What do I need? I'll do this, I'll do this. Slightly turn around, look at it differently. Your needs may not necessarily, you may think you're doing good, but may not necessarily supporting the institution, the organization. Change it. What does the organization need to move forward? What are the challenges the organization is facing? Like I said, regulatory tariffs is a big thing currently. A lot of organizations, be it the auto sector, steel, aluminum, even the pharma sector, the lumber sector, all these are very large industries in Canada. And all of them have chartered accountants. The Canadian CPOs, the Indian chartered accountants, they all have presence. They are struggling. How do you facilitate understanding the impact of tariffs or the interest rate environment, the inflationary environment, and how do you guide your senior management to take the next steps and take the organization, mitigate, manage the risk? I said that's how you look at it. I don't know if that was helpful, but that's how I personally think we should be considering.
Okay, sir. And next, what sectors present the biggest opportunities in Canada for as of now?
I would say 2, 3 sectors are very significant currently. One is RegTech, regulatory compliance, and how do you marry technology with it? So we all heard the term fintech, which is the financial and technology are married. But RegTech is another big area. Like I just mentioned, regulatory compliance is big in Canada, and there are so many compliances required, so many regulations. You have your prudential regulators, your federal regulators, you have your government regulators, your what do you call it? State regulators, provincial regulators, and then you have your self-governing body regulators in your profession. So, and sometimes the regulations are very diverse, although the intention is different. So how do they need somebody with a critical mindset to understand the requirements of those regulators? Why those regulations exist? And how am I able to help my organization comply with those? And not merely compliance. Okay, this is very important, I would say. One is just compliance, but the second, which is more valuable, how can I use the compliance to benefit my business? Simple example, I come a little bit from a background in anti-money laundering, anti-terrorist financing. from a very large institution which had about 14 million as its customer base and 500 billion as its asset side. It's a 200-year-old institution. And huge amounts of data, global organizations, a huge amount of data was generated from an anti-money laundering, anti-terrorist financing. It required significant amount of investment, capital investment in assessing the data, verifying if anything unusual or suspicious is happening. While we spend that cost, it's a required thing. That's a compliance cost. However, we had leaders, visionaries leaders, and I'm happy to say there were some chartered accountants from India and CPS from Canada also involved. We said, okay, we have this amount of data. How do I look at it from a business perspective? Can I use it from a marketing perspective? It went down to such a, I would say, granular perspective, like using postal codes of people. We were able to assess, okay, maybe this postal code is where some of the nicer or the richer neighborhoods are there. What can we target? We can target some of the wealth management products there. And these are the little bit of middle income or lower income. We can target the everyday banking or the regular, your current account, savings account. Some of the older population, like the retirement neighborhoods, where we can target your some of the funds which are more helpful to the retirement community, which are invested in bonds and all that. So how do you leverage data from just not merely compliance, but married to for your business perspective? And that's where I think our value is. People will really value what you can deliver. So that's regulatory compliance. Second is climate, like carbon accounting and green financing is huge. And because it's evolving, there are not many experts here currently. And I know India has been doing a lot in CSR and all. So if we can showcase our skill sets, connect with people in the local market through, make LinkedIn your best friend, or just reach out to people through industry conferences. There are a lot of business councils available, and see how you can assess those and in carbon accounting, green financing, sustainability accounting, disclosures. That's a big market, tremendous market. Risk and compliance, obviously, that need just keeps on expanding. How do you build your enterprise-wide risk networks, not just silos, credit risk, operational things have moved on to multiple. In fact, one of the bigger risks that people are now looking is culture risk. It's kind of, again, as the regulations evolve, the flavor of the season comes up. Culture risk is big. It's a very subjective thing. Every institution is different, but how do you interpret and how do you demonstrate that? So, and how you tie it to your risk appetite. I am myself involved in that field, so that's another area where CS can contribute. So I think, yeah, those three are the top three that immediately come to my mind. So, sorry, one more thing, Suraj, if I can just take 10 seconds. Trade and business advisory. I just briefly mentioned earlier, Canada in that trade is just only going to keep on increasing. We have about 2 million Indian diaspora here. We all need stuff from India, as well as India needs stuff from Canada. All your cereals or your pulses come from Canada. Your critical minerals, your uranium, your lithium, nickel, all of that, Canada has surplus. They also have oil, although it's a bit more expensive, but all of that is available in abundance in Canada. And so there is a huge potential for expanding the trade network between Canada. So how, as chartered accountants, we can contribute through in this emerging and growth, that's one, like your tax treaties, you can be advisory. There's a lot of people in Canada may not be aware about what's required in the India from a tax compliance, or maybe setting up shop in the GCC. That's another area where you can really be guiding or playing consulting the Canadian organizations. So yeah, I'll pause there. Any further thing, Suraj?
Yeah, one more thing. How does Canada support immigrants and entrepreneurs? Like I heard some visa program, startup visa program, and provisional nominee programs are there. Like that, how does Canada support immigrant entrepreneurs?
So there are multiple programs available at the federal and provincial level. Excuse me. So at a federal level, if you are in a particular skill set, maybe especially on the technology part, and if you have a entrepreneur and you are supporting a particular maybe a financial technology company, a payments processor, that's where Canada has advanced visa, like within 3 months or 6 months, you can get your permanent residency. Then there is an investor visa program. You invest about, the amount keeps on changing based on the political and what's happening around. So at one point, it was 800,000 Canadian. I think now it's around 1.6 million or something. I need to double check that amount. But if you invest that much and you're setting up a shop and you're hiring certain minimum amount of 5 or 10 people, you're on a fast track. Within 6 months, you get that visa. That's at a federal level. Then various provinces, which provinces are nothing but your states, they have certain programs depending on their needs. Like Ontario, where I am based out of, Ontario doesn't have much of from a chartered accountant perspective, but then there are other states like Nova Scotia, slightly not, and they do need skilled resources. Although at one point there was heavy need for nursing segment, but there was also need for finance segment. So if you demonstrate that you have skills in financial management, financial risk management, expertise in tax and legal environment, again, you are on a fast track basis. There are certain requirements that for a couple of years you need to stay in that province and then you can move around in the country. But there is enough. If you go on the Canada immigration website, there is enough information. There is also grants available. So not many people are aware, but if you are in a particular area or particular industry, there are multiple grants that the Canadian government supports because they really want to develop the entrepreneurship area. So if you have that, please do. I encourage you to please look at the websites and get more information on that. Yeah.
And sir, one more question from our viewers, that what are the investment opportunities in Canada that you see for business houses from India?
So investments in Canada.
Yes, sir.
Again, I would say that the investment opportunities are big. I would again say some of the segments that I've mentioned, that works both way, by the way. So I know a few organizations, a few firms, I would say consulting advisory firms who have presence here, chartered accountants only, friends from back in India, and they're settled here. But they have organizations, they have firms here who are providing advisory and consulting services to, be it in the technology field, be it in the accounting, the back office, or some of the segments that I mentioned earlier. And they, at the same time, they have their support functions or back in India. So they kind of leverage the talent pool that India has, the technology that India has, and they have relationship management in Canada. So the front is here. They build all the networks, they build all the contacts in Canada, in the segments that I had described earlier. And then the operational execution happens in India. Obviously, there are safeguards and guardrails implemented through your data and technology, safety environment, all that. But at the same time, you deliver high quality product on a timely basis. So that's one. From an investment, if you're really looking to, I don't know, when you say investment, if you're looking to like purchase out organizations or companies, I know a lot of Indian organizations have bought out into the hospitality sector, the hotel sector. In Gujarat, in US, the joke goes that hotel and motel go together. It's not much different in Canada, I would say. So a lot of hotels are kind of being owned by the Indian diaspora, especially in the Toronto area and Vancouver area, Calgary area. Those are very heavily dominated by Indians there. Consulting, I mentioned. Technology based, I've mentioned. There is pharma organizations. I know because Canada again has very strong requirements in terms of any sector, pharma requirements. A lot of big organizations like Apotex. Apotex is a big Canadian organization, but they have heavy manufacturing setups in Maharashtra and Gujarat, back home in India. But the head office is here, and a lot of investment happen both ways. Like Apotex, because it's an FDA regulated, Canadian government regulated, so a lot of oversight is being placed from here. But at the same time, investment happens from Canada to India. So that's one area. Sun Pharma is here. So pharma sector, if you are really, it's a very capital intensive and very strict regulatory requirements. But if you have the wherewithal and the resources, that's one sector. That's a pharma sector is booming here. Yeah. So
Okay, so that's
all.
all from Q&A.
Okay, so continuing, I would say thanks for this question, Suraj, and to everybody, the audiences. The other segments, I would say, depending on the stage of your career stage where you are in your career stage, if you're mid-level management or just beginning, I would heavily recommend you to upskill and uplift yourself. What I mean by that is if you are in the financial segment, really look into developing your skill sets into like Power BIs, Tableaus, AlterX. Please work on those skill sets. Those are, or Python for that matter, to help organizations in their decisioning. Data is there, humongous amount of data is there, but what do you do with your data? That's where you as the chartered accountant can add value. I talked about ESG and climate reporting, sustainability accounting, assurance, green finance, cybersecurity, linking. One aspect I didn't really touch upon was I talked about IT controls, IT risk, and that. But now the regulators have taken it to the next level. How are you linking your IT risk with your business strategy? So it's expanded to such an extent that they really want to see an end-to-end development of your IT data governance and cyber. How do you link it to your risk appetite, your business strategy, your business plan, your financial plan? Your we have something as the ICAP in the financial world. How are you linking everything together? Are you really factoring those links? So please, I would say, expand your horizon. Do not just focus on your accounting and finance. That's table stakes. The moment you say chartered accountants, everybody just expects you know it. So you need to build those additional skill sets to demonstrate your value. Forensic accounting, Ram sir mentioned in his thing, forensic accounting and anti-money laundering, anti-terrorist financing. I'm a little bit more passionate because I come from that field. Banking, fintech, capital markets, that's again being part of the G7 and the founding members of the Financial Action Task Force or FATF. And as the risk of money laundering and terrorist financial crimes keeps on increasing, the regulatory compliances and the ability to ingest data into systems, that just keeps on rising. So again, another key area where chartered accountants can look at upskilling, developing additional skill sets to the one qualification is the Association for Money Laundering, anti-money laundering specialist, or there is something as the fraud specialist, anti-fraud specialist qualification. Upgrade that, and that's where you can add value, and that's applicable to all organizations, not just banking and insurance, even regular corporations. There are needs in terms of sanctions compliance. Where are you manufacturing? The need has now gone, where are you manufacturing? Are you manufacturing your products in a low cost economy, low cost or a developing country, but is it subject to child labor trafficking, child labor? Are you monitoring, or are your goods coming through Iran or North Korea, any of those sanctioned countries? How are you monitoring that? Tariff evasion with all this things that going around tariffs. Is your company organization compliant in terms of tariff? I I see a lot of my friends who are in the industry, in regular corporation, not in the banking world, that the need for compliance and the need for generating data, because it's again a complex way. How do you get that data? That has just increased multifold, and they all are burning the midnight oil just to make sure they're not on the wrong side. Because a single non-compliance, especially if you're dealing with US dollars, most of the trade happens in US dollars. You run the risk of being hit by a hefty sanctions compliance, a sanctions penalty. So I would heavily encourage you, if you're looking to diversify and one area of development, please keep abreast of what's happening around that segment, and just look at those areas. That's big. So I think that's I've spoken a lot about industry and the emerging areas. One aspect, slightly diversing. Suraj, if it's okay, if I digress a little bit, one
Yes, yes.
aspect I would say, which as an Indian chartered accountants we should be very mindful, is we all have technical skills. Yes, there is some updation and all that is required. That's fine. But the big thing is culture. How do you really understand? How do you integrate within the Canadian culture? That will determine your success. So nobody really doubts your credentials, your ability to think through and to produce the output. People do understand that you've gone through a robust and rigor to develop that once you have that qualification. And just last month we had the meeting with CPA Canada with our Honorable President CPA Charanjit Singh Nanda sir, and we emphasized that we were asking for reciprocity. We are working on that, and they were very they recognized that the brand CA. We are everywhere. Like most of the institutions, everybody acknowledges that we have the skill sets. However, there are few traits in terms of culture that we really need to work on. How collaborative Canadian organizations really value collaborative, inclusive, and consensus-driven way of doing things, rather than just one-way traffic doing this. No, it's more of an open door policy. And how respectful are you in your communication? How transparent and open and timely, proactive are you in your communication? You can say that I'm going to take X amount of time to deliver my output. They expect you to deliver, and they expect that you really thought through that, and not just saying on just a day before, say, "Oh, I'll do it tomorrow, tomorrow, tomorrow." No, that's where you lose your value. So please work on those things. Listening very actively and valuing diverse perspectives. Canada is a land of immigrants. Like we are fortunate to be in this part of the world and work with very, very diverse people, not only the local Canadians. We work with colleagues from all over the world, Southeast Asia, people from Australia, EU, UK, everyone, Africa. Everybody has very diverse background perspectives. So Canada really values how well do you collaborate, how well do you gel. You learn from each other instead of just saying this is the right way. Learn from each other and work collectively as a team to develop the goods for the organization. Work-life balance is taken very seriously here. Don't be surprised if somebody just packs up stuff at 4:30 p.m. or 5 p.m. and says, "Thank you, I'll see you tomorrow." Uh, my experience has been, "Oh, you guys enjoy. You can just go off at 4:30 p.m. or 5 p.m." it's not that story. It's not that simple. Like there are reasons why we do it. Most of us start work at 7:30 in the morning. I'm in the office at 7:30, quarter to 8 in the morning, and end at 4:30 because I need to take a train. I need to pick up my kids from my daycare, and there's a cost by 6 p.m. If I don't do it, there's $1 a minute cost. If I don't do it, there's a cost to me, and everybody recognizes that. At the same time, everybody recognizes and everybody acknowledges, knows that I will deliver whatever is delivered. So it's very often that once you put your kids to bed at 8:30, 9 in the evening, half of people are logged in. So we deliver it afterwards. People don't see that outside. They just see that you're out at 4:30. How can you go at 4:30? Look at the output. People value the output, not the number of hours that you put in. And so please be aware of that cultural differences. Integrity and transparency is non-negotiable. If you can't deliver something, please be upfront and honest and transparent that it's not possible. And give valid reasons. People will appreciate. There's nothing wrong in saying sorry or I can't deliver for X reasons. People recognize that things happen, but don't break promises. That's where we will lose our value. What you say and how you say really matters. Emotional intelligence and humility go a very long way. So please have those things in mind. It takes a bit of a learning, the cultural aspect. So uh, some people have that gifted, some people learn in the hard way, including myself. So that's where we exist as the Toronto chapter, where we help our new immigrants and new members to guide through such phases. Me and our colleagues in the BC chapter as well. So please do reach out if you are immigrating or if you need to connect with businesses here. We will help you, guide you. I'll take a pause again, Suraj, if you have anything for me, any questions.
Yes, sir. Last question from my side.
Yeah.
Um, is there any financial incentives or support does the Canadian government provide for businessmen? Yeah, businesses. Like some,
There,
I heard some scientific research and experimental development, some tax credits were there.
yeah, there are quite a few, Suraj. So there are grants available, what we call financial incentives. They call it grants here. So
Grants,
if
okay.
you are researching in particular fields like AI is big. Recently, the Canadian government, after the new prime minister came in, they passed a new act. It's the AI and Data AIDA. They call it Data Act. AI and Data Act. They passed that regulations where Canada really wants to build itself as the hub for AI and technology. In fact, and my colleague from BC chapter, would British Columbia chapter, would support me. They are really focusing on Alberta as one of the provinces to build as the Silicon Valley of Canada. So in Ontario, where I am from, the University of Waterloo is almost like next to MIT in terms of technology. So if you are in those specific segments, or are you into R&D, research and development of certain specific segments, there are multiple grants available. I'm not sure about so much into the financial area, the accounting and audit. Those are, I'm not sure there are anything, but those are the other R&D and the AI, very niche areas. So cancer research. Canada is one of the leaders in cancer treatments. So if you have an expertise in that field and if you have investments in their organizations, so that's where a lot of grants are available. So yeah.
Okay, sir.
Suraj, a couple of things I would also highlight is, if any of our friends, chartered accountants, are looking to either move or set up partnerships in Canada, please make LinkedIn your Maple-centered best friend and reach out to various institutions like Toronto chapter, the British Columbia chapter, the Canada India Business Council, Canada India Foundation, or Indo-Canada Chamber of Commerce, Consulate General. There is a lot of help available. Please do reach out, and people genuinely want to help. That's another big difference. So we all have gone through a certain set of struggle to come here, and there is genuine how do I say, the feeling. Again, it's a different mindset to pay it forward, to volunteer and mentor. Please do look at that. So if you need any assistance, need any help, please reach out to institutions like us for any support or guidance. And so we may not, even if we don't have uh, the exact help that you needed, but we'll be able to guide you where to go, what to look for. There is then get into outsourcing partnerships with various accounting firms. The big fours are there, and all the big fours have significant presence in India. In fact, Deloitte has a big GCC setup in India. Latest I heard MNP, which is a Canadian accounting firm. It's the fifth or the sixth largest in Canada. They are setting up a GCC center. They are looking for talent in India. So please keep an eye open for that. And there is work coming in India. So that's one area. Develop a skill set on analytics and taxation areas, cross-border structuring, IFRS adaptations, and digital finance transformation. So quality, data security, and proactive communications will really help you go a long way into this development. Yeah.
Thank you, Ritesh ji. So, on behalf of the Institute of Chartered Accountants of India and all the participants of this UDAN seminar, I extend our heartfelt gratitude to Mr. Ritesh Desai ji for his insightful and impactful presentation. Your deep expertise in internal audit, financial crime compliance, and governance, combined with your global perspective and practical experience, truly enriched today's session. We are especially grateful for the time and effort you devoted to engaging with our members and for the encouragement you continue to provide to Indian chartered accountants across the globe. Thank you once again, Ritesh ji, for your wonderful contribution to the success of this seminar. We look forward to many more opportunities to learn from you in the future.
Thank you, Surajji, and the ICAI team for putting up this fantastic global week and this session. So I know a lot of hard work goes into it. So really appreciate the leadership for organizing this. And a big thank you to all the audiences as well. And like I said, Canada does offer a wealth of opportunities for chartered accountants as strategic partners to build your career, collaborate across borders. The world is a village, I call it. So don't limit yourselves. You have to focus on some of the aspects like trust, adaptability, continuous learning, but all the best for your successes, and we are happy to, as Toronto chapter, to partner in any way we can. So thank you and have a good one. Thank you. Namaste.
Thank you, sir.
Good to
Now,
see you, Ritesh.
I would like. Sir, okay, sir.
Hello, Raviji. How are you? Nice to see you again.
Doing well. Nice to see you too. I was hearing you speak for last 10-15 minutes.
Thank you.
Thanks for
sir.
everything. Pleasure.
Thank you.
Pleasure.
We had the pleasure of hosting you a couple of months ago. And
Yeah.
thank you.
It was really great. Thanks again for everything.
Thank you, Raviji.
Pleasure.
So, it's my privilege to warmly welcome CA Ravi Patwa, a distinguished leader of our profession and a true inspiration to the fraternity. He is the managing partner of RKP Associates, one of the largest CA firm in Eastern India. With a strong presence across multiple cities, currently he serves as a Central Council member of ICAI and holds key leadership roles as Vice Chairman of the Auditing and Assurance Standards Board, Internal Audit Standards Board, and the Women and Young Members Excellence Committee of ICAI. I would, on behalf of all of us, I extend a very warm welcome to CA Ravi Patwa. We are honored to have you with us today, sir, and look forward to your valuable insights. Sir, I am welcoming you to the dais.
Thank you. Thank you, Surajji. Very happy morning to everybody in Canada and a very happy evening to everybody in India. Friends, today we are on day 5 of ICI Global Week, a specially curated week. In the first 4 days, we have already covered Asia, Africa, Europe, and US. Today we are in Canada, and the next 2 days we will be covering up Middle East and Australia. As you all know, that this global week is designed to provide a platform to explore global opportunities while navigating through the challenges and developing scope for collaborations globally, with the central theme of navigating global opportunities. At the outset, I would like to congratulate CA Abhay Chhajed and CA Sanjeev Singhal, the convener and the deputy convener of the Directorate on International Trade and Services and WTO, for conceptualizing this program and helping out the membership in finding out opportunities globally. Friends, today we had the first session where Ritesh Desai ji has already, told us about the opportunities in Canada. And in the second session, we will be deliberating on navigating success, emerging accounting navigating success, empowering accounting professionals in Canada's thriving landscape. And for that, we have Madam Sonal Goel, the chairperson of British Columbia chapter, and Madam Sanchita Mehta, Secretary of British Columbia chapter. I warmly welcome both of you, Madam Mehta and Madam Goel. Thank you so much for, accepting to come over and deliver a lecture and encourage the membership in coming down to Canada. Friends, I would only like to say that when you expand your wings everywhere, remember that certain things are very, very important to go up in life. Ethics and integrity, hard work, timeliness of delivery, and quality. Without these things, nobody can progress in life. So all professionals must keep that in mind. And I would end by saying that opportunities are flying everywhere. It is only a matter of who grabs them. And I'm sure the professionals who are present over here today will be grabbing the opportunities, because they will have the guidance of speakers like Madam Goel and Madam Mehta, along with Mr. Ritesh Desai, who has already guided you. Thank you very much, friends. I once again welcome you all to this second session of Day 5 of Global Week. I say Global Week. Thank you very much. I hand it over to Mr. Suraj. Thank you so much, Mr. Suraj, for moderating the session.
Thank you, Raviji. Thank you. As the 10th section of our this global week, we are having our speaker, CA Sonal Goel. It is my great pleasure to extend a very warm welcome to CA Sonal Goel, CPA Canada, CA, CS, a distinguished finance leader and an inspiring professional. Sonal is currently serving as the Vice President, Finance at Amour Financial Group, Canada, where she plays a vital role in shaping financial strategy, transformation initiatives, and multi-year business planning for one of Canada's largest private financial service organization. With more than 15 years of international experience across Canada, India, and Africa, she has built an impressive career spanning banking, financial services, telecommunications, and consulting. From her early years at EY, leading statutory audit and business advisory for multinational giants like Vodafone, Bharti Airtel, and Nokia, to driving finance transformation, ERP migration, and cross-border financial reporting, Sonal has consistently demonstrated excellence in every sphere. Beyond her corporate achievement, Sonal is deeply committed to the profession. She currently serves as the chairperson of the ICAI British Columbia chapter, where she has led CPD programs, mentored students, and contributed significantly to international outsearch, helping the chapter win the ICI Best Chapter Award multiple times. She is also an accomplished speaker and facilitator, hosting numerous sessions on professional opportunities in North America. On behalf of everyone present here, I extend a heartfelt welcome to CS Sonal Goyal. We are honored to have you with us today and look forward to being inspired by your journey and insights. Ma'am, it's on.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Surajji. So this presentation is going to be shared between Sanchita and myself. So we're going to go back and forth between the slides. So if you can introduce Sanchita as well, then we can start.
Guys, we are honored today. We are having Sanjita Mehta as a chartered accountant from India and a CPA in Canada. With over a decade of experience in taxation, she began her career in India, later worked in Kuwait, and immigrated to Canada in 2019. Currently, she is a senior tax manager with PwC Canada, specializing in Canadian corporate tax. Over the years, she has guided multinational clients in sectors such as mining and construction and engineering, helping them navigate complex cross-border tax challenges. Alongside her professional role, Sanchita serves as the board as secretary of the British Columbia chapter of ICI, where she helps strengthen the bridge between Indian chartered accountants and global opportunities. So, on behalf of everyone, I sincerely welcome Ms. Sanjita Mehta. Ma'am.
Thank you, everyone.
Well, thank you. Thank you so much, Surajji. I'm so sorry about my voice a little bit. It's off. But again, I would like to start by thanking all of the present members here, whether it's my partner here in Mr. Ritesh Desai ji from ICI Toronto chapter, or whether we talk about Mr. Ravi Kumar ji, or we talk about the entire Committee of the Development of International Trade Services and WTO Directorate, our CA Nandaji President, CA Ramaswamy ji past President, or CA Prasanna Kumar ji, Pramod ji, everyone, Manishji, Surajji, especially you for such a beautiful introduction. Thank you so much for both Sanchita and myself. I'm really grateful to see such a beautiful week of knowledge, which is all navigating through the global opportunities and bringing global talent together, like getting all of these people on one single platform and talking about all of this information. It's not an easy task. I'm sure there's a lot of hard work went into organizing this. So thank you so much for doing this. Before we start, I'm going to just talk about a little bit in terms of the information we're going to be using in presenting the slides, which Sanchita will be presenting the slides here. It's all coming from the information which is publicly available from the third-party sources, and it's only for the general knowledge sharing. It's not any personal advice, or it's not any personal recommendation, or any recommendation coming from British Columbia chapter of ICI. So, Sanchita, if we can start presenting the slides. So before we dive into, like, Canada is a very vast market. There is so much we as a chartered accountants from India can do in that. Whether we talk about from defense, we talk about infrastructure, we talk about AI, we talk about any of the things which we can actually deep dive into and see what are the possibilities and the opportunities available. And we can work through and we can navigate through and we can make sure that we as a professionals can come in and actually help all the members get the skills out of it and give the most to this Canadian society. I'm just going to wait for the presentation slides to come up and then we'll start.
I'm sorry. Are you able to see it now?
Not yet. Yes, I can see it now. Thank you so much. Well, here's our first slide. Now, we're talking here about Canada's new defense procurement initiative. It's earlier this year, where Canada's new prime minister actually announced about a major reform in defense procurement. Now, a defense procurement agency, it was specifically created to simplify and accelerate military acquisitions. Now, it just means billions and billions of investments for defense equipments or infrastructure or technology. I'm not going to talk technically too much into that in the amounts and other things. Sanchita will be covering that in her another slide. But at the same time, the goal to make this procurement, to make this was to make the procurement more faster or strengthen the Canada's domestic defense industry. Now, the key priorities includes Arctic surveillance, drones, cybersecurity, but the most important is creating a partnership that extends beyond United States for Canada. Now, with such a large scale spending, definitely there are certain challenges which comes the way, which could be like we're talking about transparency, we're talking about speed management, we're talking about risk management, looking at the contracts or delivery of the contracts. That is exactly where we, as the chartered accountants, can actually add value. Now, look at our experience, which comes from, let's say, project financing or audit expertise that make us well suited for tracking the cost or strengthening the internal controls or accountability for multi-billion projects. Now, at the same time, if we look at our expertise, most of us have worked in public sector auditing and compliance in India. Now, that expertise actually translates directly here by public spending environment. Like we have that knowledge and experience being into the public environment. That's where our experience comes in. Although it does gets impacted with the PSAS standards, which is critical, but we'll talk about it in the upcoming slides. Now, cost efficiency, we're great at that. We know how to work with the limited amount of funds. We know how to make it work with the limited amount of resources. So we can help projects defense to avoid any overruns. So as Canada rebuilds and reinvests in the defense capabilities, we as the members can actually play a meaningful role and making sure that it's not only just strategic, efficient, accountable, and sustainable. So if we go on the next slide, I'll give it to Sanchita.
Thank you. Thank you, Sona. Good evening, everyone, and thank you for your warm welcome, Surajji. I'm very grateful to present here. Here's a fun fact to start with. Did you know that Canada has more lakes than rest of the world combined? Interesting, right? But maybe a more relevant fact for our CA colleagues. More than half CPAs in Canada are expected to retire within the next 15 years. Yes, CPA Canada has recognized the impending wave of retirements among its members and is actively implementing changes to attract and retain new talent. Approximately 75% of CPAs are expected to retire within the next 15 years, leading to a significant shortage in the profession. And I'll tell you why it's relevant in a bit. Before we dive deep into the opportunities for CAs and CPAs in Canada, I'd like to briefly bring some more facts and background on Canada's economic and business landscape to give you a flavor of where the market and government is headed. There are a number of encouraging signs, but also areas of need, which creates both challenges and opportunities for accounting professionals. First, I could argue that Canada is in recession. Whether it persists, we are yet to see. Stability is definitely returning. However, for some industries such as manufacturing, export goods, construction, they are under pressure. On a positive side, though, industries such as clean energy, mining, technology had a commendable growth which ranged from 7 to 10% over the past 5 years. So you may wonder what's next and where the opportunity is. With COVID, automobile industry, for example, being majorly impacted, were forced to move their manufacturing facilities to other countries, some to China, to India, and elsewhere. And we all know competing with their prices in China is very tough. So as Sonal mentioned, the government is focusing on spending on defense and defense-related clean energy and technology space to gain back some of the manufacturing activities in Canada. The new plan includes cash increase of over 98 billion Canadian dollars. I'm sorry, 9 billion Canadian dollars in defense investment this fiscal year, bringing the defense spending to 2% of GDP. The government had previously committed to about 73 billion Canadian dollars over 20 years in defense spending. This is expected to ramp up not only manufacturing activities, but infrastructure, digital upskilling, investing on strategies for more resilience to cyber threats, as Sonal touched upon. So I'll not be surprised if we see Bombardier manufacturing high-tech drones for military in the coming years. Apart from this major announcement, the government recognizes that Canada holds substantial mineral reserves. And with the new reforms in place, critical minerals incentives announced by the government, we have seen increasing activity in mergers and acquisition space, especially in the energy and mining industry. On the other side, on the business side, the picture is one of openness and competitiveness. Canada ranks highly in metrics of ease of starting a business, complexity of compliance, foreign direct investment, access to trade, you name it. Our free trade agreements, openness to foreign capital, growing digital and AI sectors are shifting the mix of economic drivers. Yet, there are headwinds. Productivity growth has lagged. Many firms are still wrestling with cost pressures and the energy transition. The global trade uncertainties remain. We used to heavily depend on the US, but now we're looking for alternative partnerships. With all these spending plans, Canada also continues to grow its population and labor force, which contributes to demand across sectors. So the fun fact that I shared earlier is your opportunity to come and fill that gap. CAs and CPAs can provide insights for policy decision around defense spending, for example, such as evaluating cost-benefit investing in new technology or equipment, whether it's procurement, do you develop it, do you procure it from elsewhere, advising on financing structures, for example. We have seen a lot of PPPs in India and in GCCs. We have seen decisions about leasing or joint venture or, whether we manufacture or we procure certain portions of it. So our Indian CAs may struggle a bit on exposure to Canada-specific defense procurement rules and maybe military contracting frameworks, industry and cultural adaptation. But that shouldn't be a hurdle. It just means there's a need to be agile, to advise on risk, compliance, investments, innovations more than ever. I also believe Indian CAs are exposed to advanced trainings and experience in AI. The India's tax and finance system is robust, such that CAs in India who come to Canada bring with them unique set of skills that can set them apart and bring them ahead of the curve in Canada. Project management skills is also one of the key skills that we have seen high demand for. Members with cybersecurity or compliance, international tax and finance strategies, all these experiences are relevant in Canada, especially with the growth and heavy investments into these sectors that I just briefly talked about. Another area where we've seen members maybe struggling a bit is understanding Canada's unique federal and provincial models, understanding that people's skills required for efficient communication even varies from province to province. It's a huge country, but so are the opportunities. The opportunities in Canada are endless across the industries and in all spheres. With all this, I pass over to Sonal back as she talks more in detail on the specific areas that presents opportunities for Indian chartered accountants and the skills and specialization or niches they can bring to Canada and be successful here. Over to Sonal, sorry. Sonal, sorry, you're on mute.
So we can talk about how we can navigate success in the Canadian landscape. We're going to be discussing about 5 major pillars, which we think are essential for any chartered accountant to bring in as a strongest foundation. Now, the first of the pillars we can talk about is the technical excellence. Now, as a chartered accountant, we already have a very rigorous background in accounting or in auditing, but in Canada, the standards we work with can differ. Now, whether we talk about PSAS, which we also talked about in the defense for the public sector, or we talk about IFRS for public companies, or we talk about ASPE. So it's for the private enterprises here. Now, staying current with these standards and underlying how they apply across different industries is very critical for our credibility and impact. Now, beyond our core compliance, there are exciting opportunities to specialize. Now, some of us might pursue for audit and taxation. Like my dear friend Sanchita is in taxation. I started my career with auditing, but now into completely like financials industry team. There's so many people who can find their niche either in advisory. You can talk about sustainable reporting, or you can even talk about like data analytics. With Canada's growing focus on ESG, or maybe let's talk about the professionals who actually have an understanding of both financial and non financial reporting, it will be in very high demand. Now, let's not forget that technical excellence is not only a one time achievement. You need to continuously develop yourself professionally. Now, whether it's pursuing the CPA designation here in Canada, or you can take a short courses on data analytics. Like my dear friend, Mr. Ritesh, you did talk about that Tableau, or you talk about Power BI. It's very important in today's time. Or you can even learn something about ESG, or just staying regularly engaged with your profession with ICAI chapter or here in so with CPA Canada. The learning will never stop. It will never stop. So, if we want to be a trusted advisor here and the leaders here in Canada with the evolving economy, we must first commit ourselves to continuous technical growth, which is for ourselves. So, make sure we're learning, we're growing, we're continuously updating ourselves. It is the foundation that will allow us to confidently take on the bigger roles, more strategic roles in future. Now, if you look at the second pillar, we're talking about technology, we're talking about digital transformation. Well, the way we do accounting today, it's very different from how we looked at it like 5 years or 10 years back. Like large organizations are now moving towards the ERP based systems. Whether you talk about NetSuite today, whether you talk about SAP, you talk about Microsoft Dynamics, so many systems are becoming cloud-based systems. Before we used to sit on the desktop, we used to work on the desktop, or we talk about small and medium enterprises where they usually rely on tools in Canada like QuickBooks, Zero. They're also developing, they're also like expanding themselves from coming out from the desktop version of the systems to a cloud version of the systems. It has completely refaced like how we as on terms of financial operations, we run from real-time dashboards to the integrated workflows. Like you don't have to run to the offices to get the approvals anymore. You can just put it into the system, all the workflows will walk through automatically. Well, on top of that, if we talk about, there is a significant integration happening with the different departments, whether we talk about sales here, we talk about people and culture, human resources, payroll, all of them gets connected into one single system, all integrated. Now, on top of that, AI and automation is not just like a buzzwords anymore. They're already here. They are in our day-to-day life. Like I see it with my company. All the automations which has happened over the period of time, whether we use OCR technologies or we took look at any analytical dashboards or tools to do more data analysis. Again, Tableau is one of them. Power BI is a very strong tools. As chartered accountants, if we embrace these tools or if we embrace them, it's not replacing our judgment. It just means that we're using a technology to focus on what is more important for us. Now, but with the transformation, we have a responsibility too, right? Like it's not just about getting on those tools, it's also about making sure we have the cybersecurity and the data governance in place. We also need to ensure that the professionals are not just responsible for accurate reporting, but also the custodian of the sensitive information we deal on a day-to-day basis, whether it's a financial or the personal data. Now, in short, I will say technology is reshaping our profession for sure. I have seen significant change over decade and the opportunity for our ICAI members to position ourselves as a bridge between finance or technology or strategy. But we do not stop here. Technology is not where we stop. We have to understand that there is existing third pillar we're going to talk about is leadership, strategic thinking. Like for many years, many years, like in fact, in today's scenario also, I would say a lot of people talk about like accountants are mainly just the number crunchers. Hey, what do you do? Do you help us finalize all the reporting analysis? Do you help us look into making sure our vendors gets paid on time or reconciliation of the accounts happens and everything? But in today's landscape, businesses are actually looking for more. They're looking not only the number crunchers, but they're actually looking for business partners. They need professionals who not only interpret the numbers, they actually want us to guide and help them with the decision making. They want us to help them with the strategy. They want us to help them with the long term planning. Now, that shift requires a complete different skill set. Now, it's not wearing a hat of an accountant, it's also wearing a hat of a leadership. It's no longer to know just what a technical accounting standards talk about, but it is also developing our skills to be able to become a better business partner. Now, the ability to be able to communicate clearly or explain the information to our non-financial colleagues. They don't understand if you're going to talk about, oh, what is my KPIs from the finance point of view? They just want to know, am I making money? How can I turn or shift this and make more sales, make business more available, right? Now, leadership is not only about how we present ourselves at the top, but it is about how we empower our teams also. Now, many of us probably will work with younger professionals, like I do. I do work with lots of newcomers here. We have to mentor them. We have to coach them. We have to create an environment for them where they can succeed just as important as our success for us is. So if technical excellence is the foundation and technology is an enabler, leadership and strategic thinking is what will elevate us from accountants to the true advisors or the business leaders. Now, if you go on the next slide, we're going to see our fourth pillar, which is global and national opportunities. Now, Canada is not just a strong domestic economy, it is also a hub for a lot of financial fintechs or infrastructures. Sanchita already talked about so many infrastructure development which is already planned here and coming in place. And especially when we look at cities like Toronto or Vancouver, we have a lot of attractive investments in banking or technology, startups, infrastructure projects. It creates a constant demand we have for accountants who can manage the complex financial structures and advise on growth. Now, there is actually a growing need in the public sector, because we're looking at a lot of government projects coming in, and usually they go through the crown corporations or the public companies, so they fall under PSAS. Now, with the billions being invested here, we need to work and ensure that there is an accountability, transparency, or we can talk about proper risk management. It's a clear that this new opportunities are opening up well beyond the traditional accounting roles. So for us, importantly, as a chartered accountants, we benefit from all of these international mobility. Now, we have an agreement in place between Canada and ICA, CPA Canada and ICAI, where members can actually transition their in CA designation from India to CPA designation in Canada, which means that our Indian training, it's not just recognized, it's actually respected globally. We are being treated in a way where we can actually convert ourselves being a respected CPA in Canada. So when we talk about opportunities, it's not just local. Well, it's also about leveraging Canada's thriving economy. And it's also about ourselves as a global professionals where we can have the mobility and the adaptability. We always talk about all of these things, whether it's technology, whether it's technical skill sets or anything, but the core, the most important aspect which generally gets overlooked, it's the human aspect. It's the human side of our profession. It's all about our soft skills. We're great at technical, but we need to learn about the emotional aspect. The environment today is changing rapidly. Accountants can demonstrate emotional intelligence. They have to demonstrate resilience. They have to demonstrate adaptability. Ritesh himself mentioned in his session where he was talking about Canadian culture is very different. People think very differently here. It's not about you work 24 hours or you work 8 hours. It's about your commitment to the work. If you're going out and you have to make sure that you have your family commitment and you have to pick up your daughter or your son from your school, from daycare, it's highly respected. So, numbers here is not everything that we need as a chartered accountant. We have to respond to the challenges. We have to respond to stress management. And we have to talk about how we can collaborate with our colleagues. That will allow us for the long-term success in the businesses, in the professions, in the industries. Well, Canada is a country who actually works with the core word here that at heart they actually have trust. If you say something, they will believe you. They will they will say, you said it, I believe you, we're going to do it. You will hear a lot of times people will apologize more often than they should. Now, as we are financial professionals, we hold a position of responsibility here. Now, our ability to lead with integrity and ethical judgment, it builds the confidence. It is not just for our clients or our employers, but it is also at the public at the large. This is the culture. This is the Canada we live in. Now, we must remember that we thrive as a part of the community. It's 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 just it's very important that we come out of our comfort zone. We actually talk about things to people where it's very much different from how we talk about conversations or the communications in India. We might be talking about different aspects there. Here, if you want to approach businesses, the most common thing I have seen, golf. If you don't know, please, I think you should go and start learning about golf a little bit. I want to invest my time, not a lot, but a little bit into that sport because that is where they actually do a lot of businesses. When they get onto the pitch, they're just talking about business there while enjoying the game. So, networking, you volunteering, you mentoring young professionals, and engaging beyond your workspace where you work in, that will help you grow. That will help you contribute back to the society. That will help you create your space and yourself available in the society, recognizable in the society. Now, we ICI members in Canada have already shown a lot of power of community by organizing a lot of professional development seminars or events, social events, bringing the families together, whether it's like a regular Holi celebration or Diwali celebration or a small picnic. We help. We want to build in those initiatives to bring people together and to help you navigate through the Canadian culture, navigate through the aspect of you settling down in Canada. So you don't have to focus on how do I manage my family on a day to day, or how do I manage my work on day to day. We help you with that as a chapters here, whether it's Toronto chapter or British Columbia chapter. We're here for you. What we want you to focus on is your technical excellence. It's your technology to keep yourself relevant, plus the human qualities. That is how you will be able to lead here, and that is how you will give back. And that's truly will define you as a leader. Well, I think I have taken a lot of time explaining all those 5 pillars, but they're very critical. Please do not forget those pillars. You have to have a designation, CPA designation in Canada to thrive in Canada, to compete with the local knowledge, to compete with the local professionals. You are great. You're strong. We all know, we all believe that, but you have to enter the Canadian market. So let's think from that aspect too. Now I'm going to give it to Sanchita to cover the next slide.
Yeah, thank you, Sonal. It's interesting, I've been in Canada for 5 years now, and when I first moved here, I did see a lot of micro level changes, and I used to think to myself, oh my God, that's a lot of adjustments. But thank goodness I had my family here to guide me through it, and remember a chapter who helped me meet with other people and really foster that community kind of feeling. And I'm so grateful to that opportunity. So turning now to AI and ESG transformation, these are the two most powerful forces reshaping accounting and business today, often together. And we all know that. You must have had various sessions hosted by ICI on AI and how AI disruption could actually work in our benefits. So I'm not going to repeat all of that, but on the AI side, in Canada, the adoption is accelerating. Over 80% of the organizations are embedding or piloting AI in finance. Someone also talked about it already. So it's not just for automation of routine tasks, but also forecasting, predictive analytics, scenario modeling, fraud detection, decision making. All of these tasks are becoming simpler with the AI. Generative AI in particular holds large promise. Reports estimate productivity gains, and that's not a hype anymore. Firms are already seeing real return on investments. But it isn't without challenges. Skills often remain short. Integrating large data sets is difficult. Governance, ethics, transparency are increasingly important, especially under stakeholder scrutiny. So that said, AI is rapidly transforming accounting profession in Canada, driving significant efficiencies and opening new possibilities. For instance, many firms are leveraging AI-powered tools such as Microsoft Copilot. I'm sure everybody's used it, yes. So Xero's Analytics Plus, MindBridge AI Auditor to automate routine bookkeeping, flag anomalies, and streamline audits. I remember when I used to do in my articleship the audit, I used to go to the clients, they used to give me this box of invoices to vouch for. And we used to sit with those red, blue, and green pens to tick on the opposite side and say, oh, yes, it matches. We don't have to do that anymore. The data or the AI actually does that for us and even creates exception reports. So I'm sure you've heard like experts talking about benefits of AI and how this is relevant for you today in Canada. Well, as I said, with technology comes risks and opportunities. And Canada needs people with experience. And I have a feeling that India already gives you that opportunity to work on those assignments. And I feel that you're already ahead of us, and maybe in some scenarios. So while data analytics reduces manual work, Experience is highly valued in identifying possible pitfalls that comes from experience only. That emotional and business intelligence that Sonal pointed out, it also comes from working on those thousands of files that our members have already worked on or seen in the past. At my firm, PwC, we have our own secure AI tool that our teams use to research or even draft responses and emails to the client. So what does it do to me? I don't have to think about, oh, hi, good morning, how are you? It'll already do that for me. Where my expertise comes in is knowing how to use that information and communicate with the stakeholders in a manner that they understand. So I 100% agree that efficiencies achieved through AI adoption are substantial. As I said, in tax, AI tools can interpret new regulations, flag compliance risks, automate data gathering for filings, and further streamline the workflows. So it's not about just one piece. We used to have payroll as a separate team, we have accounting as a separate team, we have a tax team. With AI, it's all linked now. So AI engine sitting on the audit team can communicate with the tax team to say, hey, this is what's happening on the audit side. These could be the pointers that may be relevant for tax, or these may be the risk areas that is relevant for you or for finance, for example. So while AI offers these benefits, it also demands new skills from accounting professionals, including data analytics, AI literacy, and an understanding of ethical frameworks for responsible AI use. As organizations continue to integrate these technologies, the role of accountants is evolving from traditional number crunching to strategic partnership and digital leadership. It's not about getting tasks done anymore. It's about sharing that business document with clients over a game of golf, sharing emotional intelligence, and listening to what really matters to them, and then bring AI to provide efficient solutions. On the other hand, ESG, environment, social governance, is going from nice to have to a must have. Regulators, investors, customers are demanding more robust ESG reporting, more transparency on climate risk, social justice, diversity, and governance. I briefly talked in the introduction that Canada is also focusing on resources. We've realized, well, they already knew, but now they are putting more emphasis on like resource that Canada is filled with. But with those resource mining comes the responsibility for the environment, social governance, the transparency that absolutely a regular person is interested in. Our political system is very different. It looks at all these aspects. And as we as accountants play an important role in making sure that the companies are abiding by all of these. The intersection is especially important. AI tools are helping firms to collect, analyze, and report ESG data more efficiently, to model risks, climate scenario modeling, for example, ensure compliance, to monitor supply chain impacts. I can talk endlessly about it. We have seen Indian chartered accountants bring unique blend of deep financial expertise, analytical rigor, strategic insight. I'm using all these buzzwords because I am sure you resonate with all of these. These insights put you in a position to excel in Canada's evolving landscape. It's all opportunity for you. And with strong foundations in accounting, auditing, taxation, regulatory compliance, combined with experience across diverse industries, our members are adept at translating complex data into actionable business decisions. I feel so proud that during my CA course, I had to pay equal importance to all of these aspects, to costing, to accounting. I learned IFRS in those years, taxation, these taxation rules, how government looks for errors. I'm so proud that I got to learn all of this. And all of this is so helpful when I came to Canada, or even Kuwait when I was working there. So coupled with resilience and global exposure, effective communication skills is 100%. I cannot emphasize more on it. It's absolutely necessary. Indian CAs are not only ready to meet Canadian current financial and advisory needs, but they're well positioned to shape the future of finance, ESG, and data-driven decision making. So before I hand over to Sonal, I'll just reiterate what Sonal said, and I'm sure Ritesh, you have also said that, but it's not just technical. Focus on your overall personality development. You need to know a bit of everything. It's not any subject matter anymore. I believe that you do need to have a niche, of course, to be successful. But knowing a little bit about everything such that you can have those conversations over a cup of coffee or go off or just, when you're just talking to a client, generally understanding their business, you would, I, I can tell you out of my own experience, client really values that at least you're listening, you know where the problems are, and then you can bring in the experts in those particular subjects. But having that basic understanding of what the key issues are and the solutions that you could actually bring to them is extremely important. I pass on to you, Sona.
Thank you, Sanchita. Well, now comes my favorite slide, because this is where most of us actually wants to see how it's possible. Like, I know, Suraj, you did ask some of the questions. What is it for the immigrants to come to Canada? You did ask about what are the immigration options available for them to come to Canada. But it's not just about you coming to Canada. It's also about you settling down in Canada. You talking about the actual risk and the cherries which is available for coming to Canada. So I'm going to be talking about a little bit of an inspiring stories, plus a little bit of a challenge which we have seen coming from the members, or I can share something which is coming from my own experience. So just to give you a little bit of a background, I moved here back in December 2017. So it's not a very long time since I have been in Canada, but I have seen multiple phases in Canada where I've seen the difference of how you can actually face the real struggle, and you can actually feel that you're making actual difference to the society and contributing to the Canadian landscape. Now, um, let's talk about the opportunity side first. Now, many Indian chartered accountants who moved here, they have risen quickly to the senior leadership positions. Now, we can see there are a lot of people who are idly working as CFOs, or maybe controllers, or VP of finance, or director of finance. What made that possible? That is the question I keep asking. What is it that made that possible? Like, is it just the technical skills, or work ethic, or adaptability? It is not the discipline that we bring from India of working long hours. It is now working with the intense exams which we go through. It is not just exposing yourself to the complex transactions, it is also getting adaptable into the environment of the Canadian culture. Those skills which I just mentioned, they are very important. They're very critical. But at the same time, if you cannot adapt into the culture, it will be very hard for you to be part of the senior leadership positions, because it doesn't work only on the technical background. You have to have that emotional intelligence in you. You have to have that human touch in you. Now, well, we can talk about transferability of our skills. That is very important, and that is a big asset for us because of the memorandum we have between India and Canada. It helps us to get the Canadian designation. But our trainings, which is actually done in like audits, or maybe some of us came from the industry, from the financial analysis, or working with the local gap or the IFRS, they're all important. But many of us has worked in a restricted, or let's say like very constrained environment of resources, that you do not have too many people to do the same task. You have a lot of duplicacy here, which is what I have seen. People don't want to overboard. They don't want employees to work to the extent of the burnout. They want to have their own life. Work-life balance is very important factor here. It's critical to employees' health. It's their mindset. So when we look like from achieving the results with the limited resources, oh, we're great at that. We can do that. that is something which is very appealing in the Canadian market, because not a lot of people have that knowledge and understanding on how we can actually develop ourselves into, utilizing technology maybe to bring in the efficiency, or maybe just using the same source for the best of the skill set that person possess. Now, at the same time, when we talk about from the global perspective, we come from multiple industries experience in India, whether we talk about manufacturing, we talk about IT services, we talk about infrastructures, or in finance. That diversity gives us a fresh insight in the Canadian firms. Now, many of us might be looking for talent that see beyond their own sector, but they also connect with the global best practices. So let me give you my example. When I came here, I'll give you two sides of the story. My first job, which I got here in Canada, it was clearly based on just, oh, you're coming from Big Four. I want to hire someone from Big Four. I don't care you have a CPA designation or not. Come on in. I got the job. I gave my interview on Saturday. Do we expect anyone in Canada to give interview on Saturday? Well, I did. I got my job offer letter on Saturday, which is usually a non-working day here in Canada. People spend time with families, they go out and they work there. But at the same time, I was happy. Oh, I have the job. But then I realized this is something which is where we chartered accountants from India struggles a lot. That is, we do not start with the Canadian experience. We have to attain that experience. Many employers, they actually place a lot of weight to the Canadian experience. If they do not, you don't get to start at the same position where you might be coming from your experience. It can be frustrating, and I get it, but even though we have superior skills, even though we may be overlooked initially, but we have the skill set. We just need to show ourselves with all the skills we have been talking about, technical, technology, thriving in the era which is all over across changing. Once we do that, we can break through that particular barrier for sure. Like the company I currently work with, it's my second company since I've moved to Canada. I've been here for almost 7 years now. And obviously, I've grown significantly, technically, personally, humanly, in terms of my own development, understanding how the Canadian environment is, what the expectations are. But at the same time, it's very rare and very it's not that often you'll find people where they will come to you and say you, oh, you don't have Canadian CPA. That's okay. Come on over. I just need your qualifications and the skill set. I can see you have that experience. My CFO did that to me and I got into this board. So I have a struggle aspect where I actually saw people not giving you the opportunity to get onto the same platform where you should be, to the level where you want to be, where you want to make the actual difference into the financial industry. So there are both challenges and struggles, and we need to make sure that we understand that just being technical experts, it's not going to be enough. You have to be true business partners. In Canada, we are not expected to prepare reports, but we have to sit on the table to help with the decision making. We have to influence strategy, communicate with non-financial stakeholders. That will require a new skill. We call here storytelling. We call here storytelling with data, with negotiations, and with your leadership presence. So in reality, this is the story of Canada, and one of the contrasts, like it has both success, it has both struggles, but we have clear examples where ICAI professionals have risen rapidly into the leadership roles. We have so many people here within our chapter, within Toronto chapter, who are actually holding senior position industry wide. They're holding board positions with the public sector. We have worked with Cabro, who is one of the government bodies who actually help appoint the board of directors for the public industries. So there are professionals who are working, who are sitting there and are actually setting up a great example for the upcoming members. And we're all equally talented. Everyone is technically smart. Just filling in those cultural differences, filling in those networking gaps, and the Canadian experience thing will take you to different heights. So, my lesson here is we just don't need technical expertise. It can get us into the door, but it is the adaptability, communication, and relationship building, whether you call it networking, that will truly define our long term success here in Canada. So, again, anything on that part, please pay attention on getting your designation in Canada when you come here. Focus on how you migrate to Canada. Make sure you're building relationships, you're communicating, you are networking, and you're adapting to the Canadian culture. So now I'm going to pass on to Sanchita to talk about her.
Yeah, thank you, Sonu. And I couldn't have done it better than you. You've already explained what we expect, and I'm cognizant of the time here. We want to leave enough time for Q&A session as well. So maybe very briefly, on the experience that I could share from public practice. I've never worked in industry. I've always been in a public practice. I was fresh out of I was fresh CA in India, moved out to Kuwait, worked with EY there, moved to Canada, worked with EY, and then switched to PwC. And it's been almost 5 years now with PwC here. I can say that at least in my time, Kuwait, of course, I was fresh. I grew up the ladder. But when I moved to Canada, in my head, I thought that I have certain skill sets which will be valuable. And even though I don't know Canadian tax as much, I could still get at least at a senior accountant level. I left at assistant manager there. And I'm going to give you a struggle story. So in my head, I was like, okay, assistant manager coming to a new country, maybe senior associate. Guess what? Not so much. I had to restart my career from associate level. And I quickly realized that it's not just about our own expectations. We have to be realistic with, with the migration to another countries. But also, I also realized this was 2019. And over the years, I've seen a major shift in people's perception of Indian CAs and the value that they bring with them. When I moved to PwC, I was hired because I'm a CA. I have extensive experience in international taxation. And they had already seen that I've been in Canada for 2 years. I think I was just writing my CPA at that time. So it came with a shift. All I'm going to say is be open. I'm not saying you take demotion or, take lower rank. Of course, you fight for it. We had a new member come in from India, and this person contacted me and he's like, "Oh, I've seen your journey. What do you suggest? Should I aim for a lower role?" And I was like, "No, don't do that." He's like, and he was also in taxation. So he was like, okay, tax is not as good transferable skill, knowledge or expertise. Do I focus on assurance maybe? I was like, are you interested in insurance? And he's like, no. So I was like, no, you are setting up yourself for failure because you want to come and, fit into this society with something that you don't even have interest in. You'll fail. Or you'll hate yourself because you're doing something that you're not interested in. So all it requires is a bit of patience and speak to people. They'll guide you. They'll advise you on what can be done out of their own experiences. We can share our own experiences and where if I look back, I could have done certain things maybe better in explaining my expertise. Maybe I should have looked somewhere else. I didn't. So all of these things comes with experience, and we're here to help. So network, public practice, they are now hiring Indian CAs because they realize what we bring with us. We have seen a shift in the interviews as well. Traditionally, the interviews would be, okay, tell me about your technical expertise, tell me about the project that you worked on. The recent interviews that I conducted and what we've been advised is not to ask on technical anymore. It's about people skills. It's gauging whether or not this person will fit in our team. Is this person good with communicating? That's what we observe in interviews now. It's not technical anymore because we believe technical is something you will learn with practice. It will come with experience. Basic knowledge, of course, if at a certain level, if you expect somebody to be hired at a senior manager or a director level, of course, we expect certain level of technical as well. But if you're coming at even mid-management level, it's more about your personality that they are worried about. They want to make sure that you are somebody who will not disrupt their work-life balance or somebody who will be, respecting the boundaries at work. As Sonal mentioned, it is a little different culturally in Canada. So when we talk about the quote unquote Canadian experience, it's that experience of how you be respectful of other people's commitments and understand that work is a part of your life. I'm guilty. I still work over hours, but it comes with, I guess, which industry you're working in. Unfortunately, public practice has always require long hours, but not to say that we still have flexibility. If I have a doctor's appointment during the day, I could just put an out of office status and go and attend my appointment and be back. And people have trust that I'm responsible enough that I will cover my work, which I committed to. So again, we've already talked about these topics already. So maybe I'll just, conclude by saying, and I cannot emphasize it again anymore, that apart from the technical skills and being adaptable, being resilient, being open to what's out in the market, what's new in the market, focus on your people skills, focus on communication, focus on building that network. And I cannot emphasize it enough. Network is so important. The community is so important. You feel home when you have people here and you put in that time and time and efforts into building that community. Okay. Over to you, Sonal.
Thank you, Sanchita. Well, we have one more slide up.
Yeah.
What do we talk about when we actually, like, there's so many people who debate, oh, should I go? Should I not? Should I stay? What am I going to get? Like, how does your pay scale and your career growth here in Canada looks like? This is something a lot of us as professionals should think about and consider before we actually look into the opportunity of what we want to do for ourselves in the future. Now, I have a couple of things we can talk about, like in terms of both the opportunities and the challenges we can actually face. The most critical important part, like the critical, I cannot emphasize enough here. You getting CPA designation if you plan to work in Canada is very important. Whether it's Toronto chapter, it's BC chapter, or it's ICAI, they work tirelessly to keep negotiating with CPA Canada on how the terms should look like when the qualified chartered accountants from India come to Canada. What does their profession look like? It is highly respected here that you are a chartered accountant from India. You're highly qualified, you're highly technical strong. But the pay scales get very competitive depending on whether you have a CPA in Canada or not. Well, there are so many ranges of the pay which can go from mid-level to the senior level of the roles, but it shows that the profession here is very valued and well rewarded. There are some strong premiums you can get in terms of the roles if you actually specialize into certain areas, whether Sanchita just talked about ESG. ESG is such a growing field here that requires specialization. AI integration in finance, or maybe data-driven decision making, they're high in demand, high in demand. The members who know how to upskill in those areas, they can capture the roles. They can command higher pays. There are simply not enough professionals here with that combination. We are thriving for those resources here. Now, at the same time, when we look at what is the progression path, how does it look like? How can we prove it? Many Indian chartered accountants who moved to Canada, they actually started modestly. Like they climbed faster, of course, they adapted to the environment, but they started modestly. Their technical grounding, their analytical ability, their resilience, they help them accelerate into those senior positions. They have quickly grown from senior accountants to the controllers, to the finance leaders, to the CFOs, often in a very less time than expected. I myself have seen one person who recently came to Canada and he approached us as a chapter and he was looking for a position. He's a very senior person who is globally experienced, but was not getting the role because he didn't have the CPA designation. Though he is working as a controller today here, he's seen as a finance head here, but it all came with your patience. Well, we do have strong gaps here. We do have very strong challenges which we can talk about. I did mention earlier also there is an entry level pay gaps. Like if you have a Canadian credentials or if you do not have a Canadian credentials, it's going to differ a lot, quite significantly, because newcomers may need to accept the lower pay initially. They have to compare to someone who was senior in India. Now, a professional who might have managed a team back in India might need to start at a very junior position because you don't have the Canadian credentials or you don't have the Canadian experience. So we emphasize a lot, try and focus on getting your Canadian designation. CPA is as important as you managing your family. Second, but it's not just a variance by province, but it is a significantly impacting factor where you reside in Canada. Are you in Toronto, which is a financial hub? Are you in Alberta? Are you in BC? Are you in a small town, Prince George? Anywhere. You can talk wherever you want. You're on an island, wherever you are. It will define how your salary ranges. Are you in a public practice role? Like Sanchita is in a public practice. I'm in industry. Pritesh here from Toronto chapter, he's in industry. So all of these will differentiate significantly in terms of what type of a role you're handling. Public practice, corporate finance, advisory, consulting. Understanding this landscape is very important for our realistic expectations. And finally, the salary growth in Canada or the initial insight getting into the industry or the business or the public sector, it really depends on your networking and your Canadian experience. So yes, it is where we say that, yes, ICAI members can achieve strong earning potentials and rapid growth career in Canada, but they have to ensure they're managing the networking, they're managing the Canadian credentials and experience. I'm so sorry. Now we're going to go just on the last slide. I know we're a little bit behind the time. We're going to go on the last slide and we're going to just talk about what is our quick takeaways during these discussions. We just need to strengthen ourselves as the members. We just need to bring in strong technical depth. We need to bring in adaptability and we need to experience ourselves from the diverse background, and we need to talk about from the global mindset. We need to see a bigger picture. We need to be mindful of the barriers. We need to be mindful of the challenges we can face. Now, recognizing and licensing, it can take time. Adapting to the Canadian culture, it can be challenging, but building a professional network here, it is very important. So please keep your patience and be persistent. And finally, we need to continue upskilling ourselves. AI, ESG, technology, defense, everything which is coming up. We're not just accountants. We are the future leaders. We are the business partners. We are the community leaders. So let's combine our strengths and let's just talk about on how we as the members can actually integrate into the Canadian financial landscape, and we can help shape its future. Surajit, this is where we, on behalf of the chapter, are going to stop. I know we have gone a little bit over time, but we'll leave it to you.
Yeah, it's okay. A quick question from our viewers.
Mhm.
What are the opportunities for outsourced accounting services, including accounting, regulatory support, and FPA in Canada?
So I can answer, Sanchita, if you have anything you can add. Riteshi, feel free to add if you want to add anything here. There are lots of opportunities here. So one biggest thing which I see is cost aspect. If I'm getting a job done here in Canada, it's quite expensive than getting a job done somewhere in Asia. You can talk about any of the countries. You can talk about India. You can talk about Philippines. There are a lot of outsourcing available where companies in Canada are actually partnering with the countries like India, Philippines, either in accounting advisory, accounting outsourcing services, advisory outsourcing services, or you can talk about technology outsourcing services, implementation of technology outsourcing services. There is a vast scope there. Now, how you actually navigate through the market, how you actually get yourself introduced into the market, it depends on the skill set of an individual or the entities who are actually trying to get into this market. But it is growing, it is explored already. There are a lot of people who are into this industry. We ourselves sitting here have so many networking where we know people who are working from global service providers here. Big Fours, we have GSS, global services, right? They're everywhere. Whether you talk about small organization up to the biggest Big Fours, everyone is into this. You just need to explore it and get into it. Sanchita, Riteshi, if you want to add anything.
Yeah, I can just add that yes, we've seen commendable growth in this area as well, where you might see a little bit of importance, I would say, is structuring so that you're capturing some tax and regulatory compliance as well. That's also important. But yes, there are a lot of mid-size and big-size firms who are outsourcing some of these services. The clients have pressure on compliance fees, for example. So even like industries or smaller SMEs, for example, they are outsourcing their financial services to an offshore company. So there are opportunities to explore that.
If I may
Thank you.
add very quickly, Sanchita and Sonal already covered about the cost aspects and the tremendous opportunities. One thing, please bear in mind the quality. It is very essential to maintain the higher standards and the quality of the output produced. Because once you lose that trust on that aspect, you may get the first time business, but second time business, repeat business may be a difficult. And like I said, it's a small village. Name your reputations travels faster than you. So while there are opportunities, please bear in mind you understand, you listen to the client, what are their needs, and you develop on those quality standards. But then there are opportunities. Thank you.
Thank you, Niteshi. Thank you. So, on behalf of the Institute of Chartered Accountants of India and all participants of the seminar, I extend our sincere gratitude to CA Sonal Goyalji and CA Sachita Mehta for their insightful session on navigation success, empowering accounting professionals in Canada's thriving landscape. Your experience, perspectives, and practical guidance have provided immense value to our members, especially in understanding the opportunities and challenges of building a professional career in Canada. The clarity and depth with which you shared your journey have inspired many of us to think beyond boundaries and embrace global possibilities with confidence. So thank you once again, CA Sonal Goyalji and CA Sanchita Mehta, for your wonderful contribution in making this seminar a success.
Thank you. Thank you so
Thank
much,
you, everyone.
Surajji.
Namaste.
Thank you. Moving forward, we're having a session on overview of forensic accounting and investigation standards. For taking the session, it's my privilege to extend a warm welcome to CA Sailesh Ji, a highly accomplished chartered accountant with nearly 4 decades of rich experience across industry, consulting, and professional practice. With his 360-degree perspective on accounting, business transformation, and governance, Sailesh Ji had made a mark in areas such as ERP-led transformation, business consulting, governance, risk compliance, and forensic investigation across diverse sectors. Beyond his professional achievements, he has been a dedicated contributor to the Institute of Chartered Accountants of India, serving as a faculty member, shaping curriculum and course development, strengthening professional standards, and playing an active role in capacity building for the profession. So, on behalf of everyone here, I extend a heartfelt welcome to CA Sailesh Ji. We are honored to have you with us today and look forward to your valuable insights and inspiring perspectives. Sailesh Ji, over to you.
Thank you so much for the introduction. It's an absolute privilege to be here. What I will try to do in 15 minutes is give you an overview of why we need forensic standards, what it's all about, a little bit about how they are structured in India, and a small flavor of what is to come and what are the challenges ahead. So, first is why forensic standards. You have digitization, cybercrime expanding. We are getting into billions is a small word. Now we're getting into trillions when you start looking at cyber damages. Business supply chains with globalization. And we talked a little bit in the earlier session about having a global mindset, being open, being ready to cross borders. And when you do those digitally with these complex chains, the kinds of exposures and vulnerabilities that happen actually increase. We also talked a little bit about the outsourcing. Once you come to outsourcing, it was rightly put that cost is one factor. Quality is a very, very important component. And I would place that much at par with the cost advantage, if not higher, because if you go out of quality, you get into weak controls, related economic pressure, poor delivery, and opportunities for other people to step in. If you look at stats, 52% come from partners, 46% from employees under stress and pressure. Challenges you face in forensic investigations, whether you're here or anywhere in the globe, different practitioners, different methods, and surprisingly different conclusions. I had the opportunity to see a couple of case studies from Canada in the course of my academics, where we actually saw 2 different people coming up with different conclusions on a similar case. We also have this bias perception, which is directly correlated with ethical gray zones. Your independence and conflict are not clearly defined. The trust in of the public in the investigation process, and the courts sometimes question our expertise, because forensics has still not matured in the financial parlance the way it has in medical. When someone comes and gives an autopsy and another doctor comes in,
They're fairly similar. The reason we need standards across the world are to bring in that kind of standardization to build public trust. So our expectations are there should be a basic definition of what the assignment is going to deliver, what kind of quality the users will get. Finally, since we talk forensic, maybe it's a good time to introduce the word forensic. Forensic actually comes from a word called fora, which means to prove in a public forum. So when you have proving in public forum before an adjudication authority, you come in with expectations of regulators. And both in India and outside, you have multiple regulators for exchange, for banks, for currency, for stock exchanges, different versions of CRT across the world, all with their own expectations. And finally, what we expect from the standard is to provide some kind of guidance to the practitioner in how to go about what he's doing. The standards also set about principles. The attributes are straightforward. They apply to any chartered accountant. When we come into conduct, it's slightly different. So we'll spend a little time on what's required in terms of conduct. There's a word there called contextualize the situation. As accountants, auditors, we're very used to picking up anomalies. Low inventories, high inventories, quick turnaround of cash, longer turnarounds of cash. But we start looking at forensics, it requires a far deeper understanding of the business. Is it seasonal? What's the type of business? What's the kind of gestation and turnaround in its manufacturing? So everything that flags as unusual may not necessarily be unusual. And my experience has taught me that things which look very normal are usually where the red flags lie. Because in every business, you generally do have spikes, you do have troughs, and you do have good times and bad times. I generally am very suspicious of a very consistent line of growth or a consistent line of it's something which merits investigation. Second principle we take is the primacy of truth. Where this comes from is that forensics starts primarily with a bias. We are in for the investigation because somebody thinks that something is not right. A company suspects maybe its procurement guy of not doing things the way he should be doing and making money on the side. A bank suspects its borrower of not returning money for not the right reasons. So you enter with that bias and you tend to collect information that confirms the bias and ignore stuff which doesn't quite fit in with your hypothesis or theory with which you came in. And that's the biggest injustice we can do because we're supposed to be skeptics and we are on a journey to uncover the truth, not to confirm what somebody thinks. The next one is rights and obligations. Even if you're investigating somebody, they do have rights, they do have privileges. You do go through a process to acquire data. You go through a process of respecting privacy. You still are subject to a lot of the data privacy related guidelines and laws wherever we are operating. The fact that we're investigating doesn't give us higher moral ground to tread on people's rights, and we still have those obligations to meet them. And facts and opinions is straightforward. We do a lot of analysis on the same numbers, but they are not facts. The facts are the records of the business. The analysis we do has to be good, correct, but it's still an analysis. Someone defending the same set of data is going to come up with an absolutely contrary analysis with the same data. So that's what we need to bear in mind and make sure that we use the right tools and continuously stay updated. There was talk a little bit in the previous session as well. There are lots of upcoming areas, so quality, continuous improvement are mandatory. So most of the standards are in terms of introduction, scopes, objectives. What do you need? Any explanations? How do you document your work procedure? And the date on which it got mandated. The way the standards here have been drawn out, I will draw a small parallel with the Canadian FES a little later, but here they've tried to map the forensic investigation cycle from start to finish. So what's the kind of engagement? What's the industry you're dealing with? What specific fraud risks apply to that place? What laws and regulations apply? What's the kind of hypothesis that you would like to apply, which makes it called the 100 series, which is exploratory concepts. Then you start looking at the management. Now that you understood the industry, what are they calling you for? What's the objectives? What do you need to look at before you accept? Do you have conflicts? Do you have independence? Do you have skills? Do you have competence? And that flows into the next standard. If you need to use an expert, what governs the use of that expert? Do you still keep the responsibilities? And when we come into forensics, like I said, we get into a lot of interaction with enforcement, with regulation. So dealing and engaging with agencies, there is a guide. And in the end, what is usually a very straightforward standard is pretty complex in forensics, because when we investigate, we're pretty tight about what we're finding until we're sure. At the same time, we don't trust many people while we're investigating, given the bias that people have. Yet, your stakeholders need a communication in terms of what's going on, what's the progress. Then there are issues related with hurdles you face, and there are multiple. Any of you who have done a forensic investigation would know you may not get data, you may not get people, you may not get access, you may have concealment, you may have contamination, you may have destruction of evidence. So how you deal with all of that forms a little bit of the engagement management. Then we come into execution. How do you plan? How do you collect the evidence? How do you document? What do you do with interviews? And a caveat here, we do interviews, we don't do interrogations. That's the enforcement agency. And even if we work with agencies, they do the interrogations and we watch. And like in any assignment, there's a review and supervision. And then we have a standard on, in the end, you may be called to testify before a competent authority. So what are the guidelines you follow for that? We have a placeholder called the 400 series. We will cover this a little towards the end again, but this is largely to do with the evolving nature of technology, applying data analysis, discovering evidence in the digital domain, and loans and borrowings, which is a very big area of forensics dimension almost across the world. One thing I'd like to say, we covered it briefly. You do a blood test in multiple labs, you get the same group. You get the same blood range. If you send the same blood sample to multiple places, you get very comparable results. In the forensics, that's termed as the test of reproducibility. That on the same sample, you do the same work, you should get to the same result. This is something we accountants are facing challenges in courts. that different accountants come up with different versions. So now that data is becoming such an integral part of our lives and digitization is almost embedded, there are tools available which will help you go to data, follow particular regimens of extraction, formulae, and come up with consistent results, which is what these standards try to do. And in the end, we have what we call a reporting standard, which tells you what you report. Again, the only caveat I would put is our job is of investigation, bring the facts to the table, and let a competent authority decide. Let's not get into judgment. Let's not get into accusation. Those are very dangerous areas for investigators who are accountants to go. It leaves you open to defamation and other such undesirable consequences. So the standard covers a lot of that on how you word your end reporting. And at the end, we have the quality that governs this whole framework of standards and how you do quality and continuous improvement. The Canadian standards, first of all, the Indian standards are mandatory. And they cover the full investigation life cycle from the time you follow up for the engagement till the time you execute, submit the report, and close it. Or if you want to exit it for multiple reasons, how do you exit it? The Canadian standards are a little more brief, but they cover all the essentials. Investigations, irregularities, misconduct, manipulation. They do litigation support. They also do expert witness. And they also have a piece with business valuation, which is basically quantifying losses, damages, and coming up to shareholder disputes. And of course, at the base is the ethics and documentation, transparency, conflict, audit trail. But the caveat is they're still recommendatory and more indicative of a best practice. And this is how far we've got, but we have an extraordinarily long way to go. As part of the Institute in India, we heaved a sigh of relief when we got done with the standards and said, yes, we're done. Then technology changes its mind and comes up with newer and newer things. Earlier, it used to be by year. Now, it's almost every fortnight we're getting something new. You're getting so many things coming into finance itself in terms of blockchain and other things which have multiple uses and used across in our financial sector. To make things even better, we're getting Internet of Things. You're getting more complex conflicts between availability of data, privacy, and protection. You're getting robotics into almost every aspect of how we work. You're also getting robotics not just in analytics, medicine, and lasers. Now they're looking at office automation and other kinds of robotics. The challenge here is both the standards talked of an audit trail. With this amount of work being done by virtual agents, it becomes harder and harder to trace, follow, and isolate unless we are constantly evolving with the technology. In case that was not enough, you now have generative AI that's creating new kinds of fraud cases with respect to intellectual property, copyright, the very fact that they are generative AIs mean that they keep learning from what you tell them. They write songs for you, they do pictures for you, they do images for you. And how much of that is inspired from original content without providing credit, we don't know. These are all the cases of the future just outside of finance. So it's a very interesting world we're going into. And while most of the bodies in the world, including Canada, Australia, the US, and India, we have standards, the challenges are to continue to keep them relevant. And while the standards in principle may remain, the guidance on what to do there in the field when technology is changing the landscape so rapidly will always be a challenge. That's what I had. If there's any question, I'm pretty happy. I hope I did well on time.
Yes. Thank you, sir. On behalf of Institute of Chartered Accountants of India and all participants of this seminar, I extend our sincere gratitude to CA Sailesh for his insightful and thought-provoking session. Thank you once again, sir. Moving forward to our next session, we're having our last section on opportunities in global capability centers. For that, I would like to invite CA Manish Agrawal. CA Manish Agrawal. Okay. It is my privilege to extend a very warm welcome to CA Manish Agrawal, a distinguished professional and thought leader in the field of international tax and accounting, a rank holder across all levels of CA examination. Manish brings extensive expertise in cross-border tax planning, expatriate taxations, transfer pricing, and global mobility compliance. Over the years, he has worked with leading Indian companies such as ITZ and Vedanta Group, as well as with Big Four consulting firms, where he specialized in international tax and cross-border advisory. In his global career, he has managed tax functions, transfer pricing, and financial reporting across multiple jurisdictions, including the USA, UK, Australia, Singapore, China, UAE, Saudi Arabia, Israel, and Korea, giving him unmatched international exposure. Today, as the founder of True Ledger Consulting LLP, he leads advisory services across US, India, UK, and Singapore tax laws. So on behalf of all of us, I extend a heartfelt welcome to CA Manish Ji. We are honored to have you with us today and look forward to your expert insight on navigating the evolving landscape of global taxation and finance. Over to you, sir.
Thank you, ICI team, for inviting me to share my thoughts on this very relevant topic for the professionals. And this theme itself is very interesting, and there is a lot to say. Needless to say, I have a small time window, but I'll try to make the best out of it. So I'll just, before I share my screen, I'll just give a brief context about, I'm sure many of us would have already spoken in the previous few days of this upcoming series, but I mean, giving this context specifically for the Canadian background and the global capability centers, we are all living in a very uncertain political environment and the global trade through which it is going. Thanks to Kurt C. Portas, President of United States, the overall economic environment, especially we as chartered accountants who are looking for global opportunities in outsourcing and GCC space, there's a lot happening. For instance, it started with US imposing tariffs on the global countries. It impacted the goods trade. Thereafter, the tariffs increased a lot. Then we, last month or so, we have heard the news that there is a draft bill coming up which try to restrict or regulate the outsourcing of work from US to any other country, wherein they have tried to impose a tariff called on the outsourcing of service, and plus there is a punitive tax deductibility issue under the IRS for those companies that are outsourcing to foreign players. Then we saw a big shock to the Indian IT specifically and to the overall global talent pool is that H1B fees have been increased very significantly. So until and now, I mean, US remains a primary destination for outsourcing, be it in terms of IT, be it in terms of GCC, be it in terms of global outsourcing and compliance services. So with this background, I think Canada becomes a very relevant choice in terms of, because it's a plus one destination of Canada. It's a natural extension of United States market. So for those who are looking to or those who are having an existence presence in US, but they are somehow looking for a more stable geography, but with the same level of developed economy and with the same level of exposure to the North American market, I mean, Canada comes as an obvious choice that most of the country, and I have seen in more and more conversation, especially the IT companies and they are looking to set up their regional base as a North American headquarter outside United States as a Canadian market. So with this background in mind, I mean, Canada over the years, economy-wise, haven't been doing much well, both from an immigrant economy perspective as well as in its own wise. But with this background coming up with the US and the overall uncertainty, Canada becomes a lot more relevant if someone is looking to have an exposure in the North American market outside United States. So with this, I'll just briefly present my thoughts in a summarized manner. I hope my screen is visible. Yeah. So when we say what are the global capability centers are nowadays looking, they are looking to expand beyond traditional hubs, and the significant factor which they are looking is this kind of skill set they are looking, whether the geography or jurisdiction itself offers us relevant skills, and the risk diversion in terms of whether the political and the overall trade policies are certain enough, which enables you to do a cross-border business or not, and also proximity to your close biggest business area. So for most of the Canadian companies, their proximity to North America is the primary reason why they would go for a Canada HQ. So when we talk about the opportunities in Global Capability Center, here I would see that since we are discussing for GCC in general, so it could be two types of opportunity which we could some thoughts. One is obviously a traditional GCC model wherein a Canadian headquartered company would look for setting up their finance or overall GCC in India, and we as finance professionals can obviously help them in setting up their GCC, running up their GCCs. That's one thing. The other one would be very interesting, and there I think our global network with ICAI, Toronto, and the overall CPA Canada and the partnership would come in handy. Is like if a US company wants to move their base to uh, uh, Canada, or if they want to set up a new presence in Canada, why not we as chartered accountants having a significant global diaspora in Canada and US can leverage our network over there and help those companies in moving to Canada by providing the services from India, or maybe using our network outside India. So that's the kind of opportunity we could capitalize upon, that if a company from a US wants to move to Canada, why don't we become the first mover, because we have a significant presence in Canada and in US, and capitalize this opportunity of the moving in the same way like in during the COVID times, most of the manufacturing facilities moved from China to Vietnam and Korea. Similarly, from US, like I'm not saying that this is a wave of coming in, but the slowly, if the uncertainty continues upon there, we could see that more and more companies or more and more businesses would start moving their operations from a US geography to Canadian geography because of the talent it will offer. It will not give you like uncertainty of H1B visa. If you are a talent dependent economy, it will not hurt your business to get the services outside India on a cost effective basis, cross border services. So Canada offers a lot more these advantages compared to your mature US, which is anyways there. So having said this, now let's see some of the advantages that Canada offers compared to US. I'm not comparing both economies because the things are very different, but just that the Canada equally provides a very skilled labor force in terms of English speaking force. I would say multilingual English for Canada speaks of most of the languages like English and French and other languages. So you have and the talent base, you have a top-notch universities over there. The talent is very well versed in terms of finance as well as global digital technologies. And it's a very cosmopolitan areas like Toronto, British Columbia over there. So you would have no shortage of experience and skill talent over there. And the biggest advantage, as I said, stable regulatory framework, competitive trade and economic policies, investment and encouragement. So, and obviously, in response to like US issuing restrictions on H-1B visa, we have seen that many more countries in the Europe side, like UK, uh, they have issued new policies. So we can see that Canada as a whole is investment friendly, immigration friendly country. So we don't see any challenge happening in terms of the cross-border trade of services with Canada. Now, how do we see this? I mean, Canada-India GCC synergies. We already have a lot of significant presence of Canadian GCCs, pension funds in India in the form of their investments or in the form of their already shared service centers or GCCs in India. So it makes a natural choice for them that if a Canadian US company moving from US to Canada, we can always be their preferred partner for serving their GCCs in India and also setting up their centers in Canada. So we can tap those two opportunities. I'm saying the other is, again, India has a similar level of a talent pool, language advantage, proficiency in the global standards, IFRS, US GAAP. We all know, most of us, those practicing in outsourcing or in the US market will already know US GAAP. So Canadian GAAP and US GAAP is not a very significant, I would say, be it in terms of tax laws and be it in terms of gaps. So they are pretty much similar. So if one has worked on either of it, it's pretty hands-on. Then obviously the dual value chain model would work, that you can keep the strategic functions in Canada, and while the most of the operational heavy analytics, compliance, R&D function could be kept in India market. Now, from a finance point of view, we as chartered accountants, what opportunities we do see in terms of this shift happening in the global trade. So obviously, we can help those organizations moving from US to Canada to set up their presence in Canada with our network of ICAI and other professionals over there. And then also we can help them in setting up their operations outside Canada in India as a GCC center, wherein we could provide full scale compliance setup, operationally finance and accounting delivery, then automation, process automation, risk and audit control, global support. So and whole level of talent pipeline building can happen from India if we capitalize on this opportunity at the right time, which I believe it's happening now. Now, in terms of, as I said, overall relevance of the Canada in terms of the US and the India is that Canada act as a very has a geographical advantage of a proximity, as well as the time zone wise. If you have a headquarter or a regional headquarter in Canada and you are doing work majorly for your businesses in US market, so Canada offers a very, like New York and Toronto has almost the same time zone. So most of your time zone related issues, your geographical related issues are almost similar if you operate in Canada and you have a backend GCC in India. So Canada offers equal advantage if we compare it with the US in terms of your timing and locational advantages. So now we have all seen that what kind of opportunity lies ahead for us between India, Canada, and US shift happening. Some of the challenges in terms of the Canadian market would and the Indian market we should be aware of, and I don't think these are very significant challenge, but can for sure be overcome. Is one is like I would say in terms of labor laws, or Canada has a very strict, or I would say compliant labor friendly laws. I mean, it's not very easy to fire people over there. The laws are pretty much tilted towards the labors over there. So we have to be very careful about our designing our employment and overall recruitment strategy. Again, Canada and the overall North American market values privacy, to a large extent. So all the data security and infrastructure needs to have in place. And similarly, if we want to do work with the Canada on a GCC or an outsourcing model, we have to be aware of those international best practices and get those relevant certifications in terms of ISO, SOC certifications, data protection guidelines. We have to be there. And obviously, like any developed market, compliance is something which they cannot zero down, or it's something which is not negotiable. So compliance with every law and regulation is something which is very carefully monitored by global businesses. Now, for in terms of India compliance challenge, I think most of us would have dealt it in past, and they're still dealing with. But yes, talent again is a attrition is there, but again, talent is available in wide uh, uh, pool over there, so not a issue in terms of the talent availability. But yes, finding the right talent and retaining is again a challenging task nowadays. Regulatory, I think there are multiple regulatory challenges in terms of exchange control, FDI, overseas investment. But I think government is doing its bit in easing it out and overall making it friendly from a global business point of view, with the recent example being the GST reforms and other reforms RBI unveiled a few days back. So overall things are on track. In cybersecurity, India is also in the stages of implementing its own global data protection rules. So, although penalties are significantly higher in those global data protection rules, but yes, so India is also trying to set a benchmark in terms of global data security. And yeah, worldwide, I think US and Canada, I think there have been pressures or indicators that the recession is happening over there, or the economy is not so strong. But yeah, there could be cost pressures, and meeting those cost pressures and delivering services within that tighter cost pressure is something challenging from an India point of view. Okay, I think that's it. I have within my 15 minutes time, but yeah, so in terms of opportunity, as I said, that it's a twofold opportunity for us, not just setting up a GCC for a Canadian market, but the bigger pool of opportunity lies in a relocation from a US to Canada happening. So that should be our motto, leveraging our global network with ICI global chapters, the professionals and the diaspora we have in Canada about the Indian market finance professional, steal this opportunity and then try to get the work outside India in India for the GCC market. I think that's how I try to make it a bit more interesting, but happy to have any questions or thoughts. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Manishji. Thank you for your time, effort, and invaluable contribution, making this seminar impactful and meaningful. Thank you. So, respected dignitaries, esteemed speakers, fellow chartered accountants, and dear participants, as we come to the close of this enriching ICI Global Week seminar, it is my privilege to deliver the concluding remarks. Over the course of today's session, we have had the opportunity to hear from some of the finest professionals who shared their experiences, expertise, and insights on navigating success and empowering accounting professionals in Canada. From global opportunities to local challenges, from professional excellence to personal growth, every session has given us valuable lessons to carry forward. I take this moment to sincerely thank all our distinguished speakers, CA Ritesh ji, CA Sonal ji, CA Sanchita ji, and CA Sailesh ji, and CA Manish Agarwal for their time, knowledge, and thoughtful perspectives. Each of you has truly inspired us to goes to the organizing team of ICI, whose dedication and hard work ensured the seamless execution of this event. So, to all participants, your presence and engagement made us this seminar meaningful. So, once again, on behalf of ICI and ICI Global Week team, I thank everyone for participating in this today's seminar. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Surajji.
Thank you, everyone.